And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Penn the Dragon, and this is my first time ever doing a podcast. I hope I'm doing it right. And I am invited with some of my friends. We're going to start off with Brett.
Oh, hello there. Crap, did I go muted?
No, I think you're good. Please introduce yourself and where we can follow you.
Yes, hello. I am Super Brett 64. I am mostly. You can find me on Twitch mostly. That's where I spend most of my time when I'm not tired. But I also post a lot on Instagram and TikTok under the same name, Super Brett 64. TikTok though, you have to put an underscore between Brett and 64. That's the only difference. Other than that, that's where you can find me at.
All right, and next is Zach.
Hi. Hi, I'm Zach. I don't have any real public connections right now. I'm hoping to start YouTube soon, but until then, I'm just Zach.
Well, thank you, Zach. And next up is Dominic.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dom, aka the Medicine Man, aka that weird guy in all of Miss Bettis Plays comment section.
And yes,
the real star of the show there.
Yes, and you should follow Miss Perez.
Yeah, actually, if you want to, after we're done talking, she should still be streaming some Dead by Daylight and having a blast over there. So check her out and
definitely go do that.
Oh, right. I did also forget to mention I'm also the partner of Momokotu Haramaki, also on Twitch. I believe they just started their Discord, Momo's Palace.
Really?
So yeah, I believe she sent invites to all of you, but yeah.
Okay, well, we'll definitely check it out later. But for now, we're going to be talking about some comic book media, and the topics that we're going to go over is, unfortunately, last week, Kevin Conroy has passed away, and most of us know him as the voice of Batman from the animated series. We're going to talk about our favorite portrayal of him from the animated series or the video games or the movies that he was also a part of. And then after that, we're going to go into Wakanda Forever. We're going to that portion is going to be the non-spoiler territory, because some of us have not seen it yet. And then we're going to go into the future projects of the MCU. And then after that, then we're going to the spoiler territory of Wakanda Forever. And anybody who doesn't want to be spoiled, they're free to leave the chat. But in any case, are you guys ready to go?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, great. So Kevin Conroy, as I mentioned before, he was the voice for Batman the Animated Series that came out back in the early 90s. Now,
actually, let's be real. He is Batman.
Yes,
he is the Batman.
Yes, we have had many portrayals over the years, the decades really, of many people portraying the character, but it was during a very important time where after the Adam West series of the Batman, and after Tim Burton reigniting the character, but then some of his later films, the later films were kind of getting a bit more campy. Batman the animated series brought such a gothic presence to the character but still felt relatable, that Kevin Conroy himself was able to bring some of that realness, the grittiness, but also some of that vulnerability when we got to really know the character. And for my favorite portrayal of that character is I posted it earlier this week, was the episode Harley's Holiday. Now, in that episode, Harley Quinn, she was able to get a bit of she was able to let go with a clean bit of health. And at this point, Harley was she was able to be able to make a change and whatnot. And sorry guys, just one sec. It seems we have a bit of this is my friend Iron Bowman. Okay, sorry. That was a little bit weird. But in any case, in that episode, Harley's Holiday, she goes out and she actually runs into Bruce and his new fling named Veronica. And through a series of circumstance, she accidentally got herself a bit of trouble, and it led to like a whole Veronica's father being a military chasing Harley with a tank across Gotham, and Batman was able to help her and bring her back. And they just all realized it was a big misunderstanding. But the important thing that I want to mention is that at the end, near the end of the episode, when Harley was questioning why Batman would go so far as to help her, he tells Harley, I know what it's like to have a bad day too, and trying to rebuild my life. That to me speaks a lot about Kevin's character, because he knows the character does always try to help the villains, the ones who he can't help, like Mr. Freeze and a lot of other characters. And he recognizes that Harley was legitimately trying to start a new life, and he empathized with that. So that just speaks volumes about about how Kevin just brought this character not as a dark, brooding character, but also someone who's vulnerable enough to allow himself to at times to let people be a part of his life and that he can trust.
It's basically the best way to describe that version of Batman for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that was the best part of Kevin's portrayal of Batman. Yeah, it was dark and yeah, it was brooding, but also there was also a levity to it, because I think he, as well as also the writers on these various projects, understood that Batman was not just darkness, it was also hope. I think he very much tried to portray that in his version of the Caped Crusader.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Brett? What was your favorite portrayal of Kevin?
That's a really tough one. Because in a way,
so many good ones.
Yeah, because it's in a way, I think he might have been my first Batman. It was either him or Michael Keaton. I don't remember.
Yeah, he was mine
too.
He was my first Batman, yeah.
But it's just ever since I first heard him, I was like, that's just Batman's voice. This is just who I associate with Batman. And I'm pretty sure people have heard this a million times.
And let me guess, whenever you read the comics, you hear
exactly.
Kevin's voice.
Exactly. Every time I read a Batman comic, I read it in Kevin Conroy's voice. Or if I want to make it stupid, I read it in Adam West's voice. But,
yeah.
Well, I always hear it as Kevin Conroy's Batman and Mark Hamill's the Joker. Whenever I'm reading the comic book, those are the voices I hear.
Those two are the quintessential voices of those characters.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I had to pick, so I think my favorite portrayal, I wanted to say it was that episode of Justice League where that I forgot the little girl's name, but she's about to die.
Ace.
And Bruce just sits with her.
I actually recently rewatched that one.
Yeah.
It was
that's a really good episode.
Yeah, it's speaking of that episode, I was actually going to talk about that one for myself, so we might as well tag team this.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I believe that's season 2, episode 13 of Justice League Unlimited epilogue. Yep. And that is the scene that it's mostly talking about, the overall episode is actually about Terry McGinnis, the Batman in Batman Beyond, the future. Yeah. And basically he's going through some turmoil because he recently learned that his father from the show, Warren McGinnis, is biologically speaking not his father.
Yes.
He finds out that half his DNA is that of Bruce Wayne's. And
something Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
like originally, like he believes that like Bruce set this up because he's so egotistical that like he believes the world still needs a Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like in the end, it turned out it was Amanda Waller that did that.
Who's more controlled and narcissistic than Bruce ever is.
Yep.
Yes. Because, like, you know, after everything was fixed with Cadmus between them and the Justice League, she grew to respect Batman so much that she believed that the world needed a Batman, and so she would create a new one herself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never really. I'm about to watch Batman Beyond, and like I've been watching. Started with Batman the animated series to Superman to Justice League to Unlimited to Static Shock, and going to Beyond. And I just want to mention like how Kevin was like there throughout all of it as like his voice and carried the DCAU. But I wanted to ask like people who have watched Batman Beyond, did you think like was this like a theory that Batman was actually his father, or does this work for Terry?
Oh, it works.
It works. It threw me off as a kid, but
yeah. Well, because the Justice League Unlimited episode that explains all of that came out after Batman Beyond had finished its run, I believe. So they were actually
the episode was literally called the episode was literally called Epilogue. So it was supposed to be like, I guess up to that point it was the final moment of the DC animated universe.
Right.
Like in terms of that timeline, that is the last we see of that universe.
Yep.
All right.
But it was a cool way to like wrap everything up.
It works really well because at the end of the episode, basically it doesn't matter what happened. Terry McGinnis becomes Batman, even though Amanda Waller was the grand puppeteer behind everything.
Gotcha.
It's still, he still becomes Batman. So even him, that's just comic book shenanigans at its best.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I think one thing that was actually like an interesting thing, and this was a big thing, was that originally Amanda Waller did want to also set up a death of the parents thing similar to Bruce's.
Oh.
And in fact, she hired the Phantasm from Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh yeah.
Like that character.
That's right.
I thought that was Barbara Gordon.
No, yeah, it was the Phantasm.
Right.
Like she returned because that was one of the few original villains that came from the animated TV show
and the movie.
Yep.
Yeah, and so she tried to get her to commit the murders, but the Phantasm said no. Bruce would never kill, so if we really want to honor him, we shouldn't either.
Right. And and in that episode, the epilogue, you were mentioning about like how Bruce was like approaching Ace, who was this character that we've seen before when it was like Justice League versus the Royal Flush Gang, who, ironically enough, were all voiced by actors who portrayed the Teen Titans.
I think that the first version did, yeah.
Yeah, and then Ace, her powers that she had psychic abilities that eventually grew to where she could warp reality, but she was slowly dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Zach, what is it about? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to set up to for the viewers about the context of that episode.
No, yeah, I do think that that's a really powerful moment because it does show the inherent compassion that is Batman. Because especially in the early 2000s, 2010s, I feel like most people's view on Batman was very skewed.
It's still very skewed, honestly.
It's very skewed. Yeah. I do think certain portrayals of the character have tainted the waters of when it comes to talking about Batman. Because now most people they just want to make him violent and make him incredibly violent, incredibly brooding.
Yeah.
And I
think
we
Ben Affleck, cough.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
he was the perfect Frank Miller, The Dark Knight, but
Yeah,
I digress.
Yeah, and I think like we were talking about this on Twitter once, Brett. We think like when people say they want a Batman that kills, in reality, what they want is the Punisher.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a quote. I actually had to look this quote up again to make sure I got it. I said it right. I do not for the life of me remember who said it, but it said, "Can you imagine your Batman comforting a scared child? If yes, congratulations, that's a genuine Batman. If no, you haven't written Batman. You've written Punisher in a funny hat."
Yeah.
And like, as funny as that is, I'm like, no, that's 100% correct. And Kevin Conroy's Batman was perfect for that.
Yeah.
Like you see it, and you see the way he interacts with just the Bat family, even though he only had 2 Robins and Batgirl. I don't think he had anybody else other than them.
Yeah.
But you see how much he
still nails
cares
the
for
character.
them. Yeah, you see how much
he's ultimately a very compassionate guy.
Yes, because his whole mission is very much, I do not want what happened to me to happen to anybody else.
Which is the mission of the comic book counterpart.
Exactly.
Also. And that's why I think, like, as of right now, to me, my favorite live-action Batman movie is the most recent one, The Batman.
That's setting things up beautifully.
Yeah, because the whole point of that was to take that very dark, grim, and narcissistic view of Batman that I think people were getting so accustomed to, and then evolve that into what we can consider the true Batman.
Well, because you're missing out on so much of a Batman's character and like his depth and growth by not including the Bat family and Robin specifically, because it's his relationship with Robin that allows him to grow beyond just being the controlling narcissist.
Which is one of the reasons I'm praying to God we get Robin in the next one.
Yeah. And
specifically Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully. And like going back to the epilogue episode where Batman confronts Ace, they are told that Ace is dying in that episode, and that if she were to die and leave the world like reality warp, it will stay that way. So Waller gives Batman tells him that he has to put her down with an injector or something like that. But in any case, Ace is well aware of this, but Batman, what he does is that he confronts her like a child, not as something to be used or to try to manipulate her or throw a punch. He just talks like from one kid who has been tortured and is broken because he knows what it's like to be, because he himself, in a way, was like a kid who had a broken childhood.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's had plenty of practice because first he had to fix himself, but then he was actually a comforting figure that like shows, hey, like the world hasn't quite ended just yet to Dick Grayson when he lost his parents. So being able to actually comfort a child is not anything new to him because he had to fix himself, and then he had to comfort 2 different Robins.
Right, but this is also like a child who is very powerful, but is also facing death. Well,
yep.
So it's a very tricky situation, and but
it's not outside the realm of possibility for him. That's all I'm saying.
Right,
of having to comfort a child and be there and not be vengeance.
Yes, exactly. And Brett, were you going to? You said you were like this portrayal like was one of your favorite, but you were also a little bit.
Oh, right, because I was like, because I knew somebody else was gonna pick it. Like that's why I was like, I'm gonna mention it because someone's gonna mention it later. It's not gonna be my pick though. The one I'm gonna go with is, actually speaking of Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, which is one of my personal favorite. It's one of my personal favorite Batman movies. It was on. I think it was I didn't see Mask of the Phantasm first. I'm pretty sure I saw Return of the Joker first. Okay. But oh my god,
I'm in that same boat with you.
There's 2 things I really like about that movie. One, showing Bruce Wayne being actually terrified of something happening. Because that's something you don't get that a lot from Bruce, is that he's usually very stoic. He usually tries to have this feeling of I'm in control, I know what I'm doing, I have a backup plan, yada yada yada. Yeah. But like the moment he sees the Joker in that gala that he was hosting or whatever,
it's not so much sees; he hears the laugh.
Yes, hearing the laugh, and then Joker's the smoke comes out. He pops out of it. He's like, "Hello, Gotham! Joker's back in town." Bruce is just Bruce has this look of just you there's no way that's impossible. And like seeing him have this like that, no, that's not right. It's like you don't. As a kid, I was like, I've never seen Bruce Wayne like that before.
It takes a lot to rattle him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Like,
and when you see why that rattles him.
Yeah. I will also like say this. DC, take some notes. Do you want to know the reason why that movie's so powerful? Is the fact that like throughout the entirety of the Batman Beyond TV series, we did not get Joker. We had the Joker gang. Mm-hmm. We did not get a Joker. So his return was a big deal. Do you hear me, DC? Not every storyline needs to revolve around the Joker. You have other villains. Use them and save the Joker.
The only thing that makes the Batman like not perfect is the fact that the Joker shows up at the end. That is the only thing that makes that movie not perfect. I was like,
I'm okay with it personally. I'm fine. Like, you know what? He has to exist there, but
like, guys, but
I was like, did we have to tease him so early? Like,
no,
really?
It's not just that. It's also with the comics. Like, it feels like any time DC reveals like another major Batman story arc, it's just the Joker again. It's the Joker again, and like
lol, Joker wins.
Because like I remember like a few years ago, they're having both like the Joker War as well as also the Three Jokers storyline going at the same time.
We don't talk about Three Jokers.
And,
it was an interesting idea.
Right before that, we had Dark Knight Metal, where the villain was a Jokerized Batman. And I'm just like, can we get and we got Dark Knight Metal again right after that.
Oh yeah, we did.
Heavy Metal.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I forgot about the second one.
I wonder how
was actually the one that reset the continuity again after they had tried to do that with Doomsday Clock.
Right. DC, you don't have to reset it every time.
I wonder how they're gonna if they're gonna make an adaptation of the Batman Who Laughs.
Honestly, it would be interesting.
Yeah,
I could see them doing it.
I think that would be interesting.
If it's Christian Bale, if it's Christian Bale playing him, I'll watch it.
Oh,
I'm not even kidding.
Honestly, honestly, I think he could actually pull that off.
Yeah,
especially considering how his portrayal of Gore.
Oh yes, thank you.
Gore, Love and Thunder.
Or just watch him in American Psycho. He could totally.
Yeah, I was gonna say American Psycho.
Oh yeah, I think he's really good at playing unhinged, and I think he can very easily combine that with his Batman portrayal.
Yeah,
I think it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to do that.
Yes.
Plus, that's always a fun thing when actors return, because this is another thing I'm going to say. I very much like. I know this is a very unpopular one. I really do love Batman: The Brave and the Bold.
Oh yeah,
I love how they. And I love how they.
Didn't Kevin make a cameo in that one?
He did.
He made a couple of cameos actually.
That's right.
I was like what I was actually about to say is that I loved how that series utilized voice cameos because I believe Kevin Conroy had 2 roles in Batman: The Brave and the Bold. First, I believe he was not the Spectre, is the counter to the Spectre. I think
the Phantom Stranger.
The Phantom Stranger, yes.
Yes, the Phantom Stranger.
Yeah, he was the Phantom Stranger, and Mark Hamill was the Spectre. So again, because because they're supposed to represent order and chaos,
they were supposed to represent
justice and vengeance.
Justice and vengeance. Yeah.
Then them being the opposing voices, that was perfect.
Yeah.
And I believe he also voiced Kevin Conroy also voiced the Batman of Karzar.
Yes.
Zur-En-Arrh.
Zur-En-Arrh. Yeah.
Zur-En-Arrh, yeah, it's basically just, what if we made Clark Kent Batman in an alien world?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing I love about Batman: The Brave and Bold. It really delves into that golden age of comic books where it's just so zany, but that series also has a body count.
No, yeah, like it also was able to get serious. Like I think like the best way I described that series was like it's like the perfect blend of the the animated series and like the Adam West Batman show. It was like the perfect blend of those two.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Fair
which,
assessment.
There were
I
actually
do
some
also-
genuinely heartfelt moments in
Yeah.
Brave and the Bold.
I also remember that like Adam West also made a couple of voice cameos in.
Oh yeah, he played Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
Yep.
He played Thomas Wayne. I believe he also played this robot that Batman built, but like it was like an older version. Yeah.
Okay. Well, going back to Brett, you were mentioning about it kind of lost it.
Return of the Joker.
Yes, Return of the Joker. So my favorite thing about that movie was the flashback where they go into what happened that night the Joker died. And it's not Kevin, it's not Bruce telling the story, it's Barbara, but Kevin does have his speaking lines throughout in the flashback as Batman. And it's just this feeling of like he's frantically searching for Tim Drake, Robin, who's gone missing because Joker kidnapped him. And it's just that feeling of, oh God, please no, do not let anything happen to this kid. Like, because he's been doing so well, like he's taking care of all of the Bat family. But the minute Tim went missing, he lost it, and he starts frantically searching for him. And when he finds him, it's worse than death in a way.
Yeah,
because Joker turned him into a baby Joker, basically, and it's just that, and you just see the it's funny how like I praise Kevin Conroy for being like the perfect like heartfelt, emotional Batman, but that does tie into seeing him angry when someone he loves is put in danger.
Yeah,
and you see how just like the rage and the seething, like all that anger and frustration with Joker all these years. It finally comes out, and he was ready to kill him, like straight up, throws a battering at his head. He was aiming for his head. He was trying to kill him. So
yeah,
but you see and then you get this moment where Joker's got Batman dead to rights, and he wants Tim, like Jokerized Tim, to shoot him. Bruce only has one last word in this flashback. I think this is the last word he says. It's just Tim, but you can see this look like, Tim, please don't do this. Like he's trying to reach out to his son, basically.
Yes,
reaching out to him, just like, please come back to me. This isn't you. Don't do this. And then Tim, at the last minute, turns the gun on Joker and shoots him instead. And you see this relief. Yeah, you feel this relief from it's just Kevin maybe making a couple of grunts. But like you feel that relief of just, oh, thank God he's not fully gone. We can still save him. But you also see like how that turned him into like the grumpy old man we see him as Batman Beyond. Yeah. How not just that one night, but then of course the opening of Batman Beyond where he has to use a gun to save himself from being killed, basically because he was having a heart attack. But yeah, like you have those two things like really showcase why he's so jaded in Batman Beyond. He doesn't feel like the hopeful Batman that we knew in animated series and Justice League, whereas Terry kind of brings that hope back out of him, and it's really cool. Like it's cool that Return of the Joker does so much for Kevin's portrayal, and it really gives you a new insight into his Batman, and it's so good. It's so good. It's fantastic.
Like. It also brings up like he does actually have a sense of humor. So I know one line that like people love like as a joke comes up is that like there was an episode of Batman Beyond where like Bruce was like hearing voices and it was trying to make him think he was going insane. But then afterwards when like he reveals like I'm not insane, he revealed why he knew that wasn't his inner voice talking to him. It's because it kept calling him Bruce. And in his head, he doesn't call himself that.
He's Batman.
And when Terry asks, "What do you call yourself?" he just gives him a snide little grin, and Terry is like, "Oh, right." He knows what he calls himself.
He's like, "Never mind, I got you."
Well, in the DCAU, like Bruce Wayne was the Mask. He was always Batman.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and that's also kind of set up in my favorite take from or performance from Kevin Conroy, which is Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
I'm actually probably going to rewatch that movie this week.
I already did. It is awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Just straight up, y'all. Like, the Batman might be amazing. Mask of the Phantasm is the best Batman movie.
It really is.
It really is.
It does so much, and it's a limited runtime, but just the we could do an entire podcast talking about how awesome Mask of the Phantasm is.
Yeah, we can save that for another time.
Yeah. Honestly, I think one thing it would be fun is like doing a ranking of not the live action, but like all the animated Batman movies.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of good ones.
It's because like even like there's a surprising number of them. Even if you include like things like Lego Batman.
Yeah.
Like there's a surprising number of like animated Batman movies.
But Dominic, was there anything that you wanted to like? We know that, but what about the lovelies who have not seen Batman: Mask of the Phantasm? Like,
all right, so basically, oh god, where to even start with that movie? Because like it's everything the animated series is. It has the gothic feel, the dark animation, and it also works as like it's a film noir, like a mystery, like you're trying to figure out like what's going on, who is the Phantasm, and all this. But it's also kind of like the animated series' own take on Batman's origin story, showing like how he became Batman, and like there's moments like in the flashbacks where like he is at war with himself, like trying to figure out like he wants to keep the promise he made to his parents, but there's this person who came into his life that completely turned his world upside down, that he really cares and loves, and he doesn't know what to do. But in all the flashbacks, there's just this looming like the foreshadowing and looming presence of Batman in there. And just like by the end of it, like you realize this was his one chance to like be Bruce Wayne, but once that chance was gone, there was only Batman. That all he had left was his vengeance.
Yeah, there is one part that I want to highlight, to where after he met the woman Andrea, he goes to his parents' graves and he pleads with them that I know I made a promise to you to avenge your death, but I didn't plan on being happy.
Yeah, well, he's really just pleading with himself.
Yeah,
that's like the most heartbreaking thing I think I've ever heard in a movie.
Yep,
man.
Like he's like literally like arguing and pleading with himself, like at the grave of his parents. Like, I could give money, I can do this, I can do this. Like, I didn't think I would actually be happy, but yeah, just by the end of it, all that's left is Batman and the mission. Just a man in a cave.
Yeah.
And just the vocal range that Kevin Conroy brings to it is just absolutely amazing. Like the stark contrast between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like you can tell they're two distinctive people, but like even as normal Bruce Wayne, like when he's in the cave, not in the batsuit, like you can hear him being Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin, for giving us like such a great portrayal of Batman, not in just the animated series, but you carried that character in video games and film, and like you also hold on to it with your life. And thank you for just being like a wonderful person. We will never forget you, Kevin.
Yeah, he was. He really was great.
And like beyond just like him as an actor, him as a man. Yeah, he was amazing. He was always the kindest person. Like recently I rewatched a clip from like this podcast he was on. It was with it's the Rob Paulson, you know, the prolific voice actor who's been like in a lot of different cartoons.
Yeah.
And like he was talking about his experience about how he assisted during 9/11. So he was living in New York, and after 9/11 happened, him and thousands of other New Yorkers came in to like try and volunteer. And like when he called to see what he could do, they told him, "Oh, we already have all the all the diggers we need. We have all the construction people we need. We have all the rescuers we need. Do you have restaurant experience? And he replied, I'm an actor. Of course I have restaurant experience. And then they asked, okay, great. When can you show up? And he says, I'm an actor. I'm in between jobs right now. So like what he ended up doing was that he was working he ended up working in the kitchen where like restaurants around New York were donating their food to like, help feed all the rescue workers and everyone who was working there. And he ended up doing that, and like 2 weeks in, like he's talking to this guy and they're talking about their jobs, and this one guy who was an architect, he asked him, well, what do you do? And he said, well, I'm an actor. And then the architect said, that I knew I recognized you somewhere. You're Batman.
Nice.
Yep.
And then, like, the architect, he went to everyone else who was in the kitchen at the time and said, hey, yo, we've been working with Batman. and in like typical New Yorker fashion, everyone said, is it okay for me to curse on the stream?
Go ahead.
Okay. And in typical New Yorker fashion, they said, no fucking way, fucking prove it.
Wait, did he deliver the legendary
vengeance? He did the legendary line, I am vengeance. I am the knight. I am Batman.
And I just love how they use that line in all the kind of little what's the word I'm looking for here on Cartoon Network? The
bumpers.
The little bumpers.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'd hear that, and then it would just be the Cartoon Network logo on top of the building with the lightning strikes.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember those.
Bad.
Anyway, like after that, everyone's mouth was agape, and they were all excited because, like, that's fucking Batman. And like,
the only appropriate response.
Yes.
And so they all started talking, and they all started praising him. They said, "Oh, what was it like working the show?" Or I love the show. I watch with my kids all the time. And then after everything died down, he was talking to the architect again, and the architect said, "How's it feel to be Santa Claus?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" Well, and the architect said, "Well, you've been working here. We've been nothing but miserable for the past 2 weeks. This is like the first time any of these guys have heard laughter in that entire time.
Oh.
You made their day. You brightened their spirit."
Mm-hmm.
And the man was like, he truly was a treasure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
I remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's so sad that but you go ahead, Dom.
Well, I was just saying, I remember I was over at Alamo City Comic-Con a few years ago with a friend of mine, and we were looking at like the just like the panels who was showing up, and they had a panel of some of the voice actors from Batman the Animated Series, and Kevin Conroy was there. They also had the voice of I think Poison Ivy, Penguin, and a couple others. Mark Hamill wasn't there, unfortunately.
Oh.
But no, just hearing them like talk about the show and everything, and hearing him kind of converse with the fans as they went up to ask questions, like it was just so cool. And I was like wow, I'm here in a room full of complete strangers, but we're all united in the fact that A, we love Batman, B, we love the show, and C, we're also huge fans of Kevin Conroy because let's face it, he is Batman.
Yes, he is.
Speaking of which, did anyone else here also get a chance to meet him in person?
No. Sadly, no.
Yeah. Like, I just saw him in that panel in the room, and
I got to meet him once. I believe it was like a fans con up in Dallas. It was back when I was in school at UNT. And I talked to him. He was very nice, very polite. And I did actually get something signed by him.
Nice.
It was a gift for my brother Zane. It was a box set of like the first season of the animated TV show, and I had it signed to Zane. because
Ooh,
out of the two of us, Zane,
That's
out of the
cool.
two of us, Zane is out of the two of us, Zane is the bigger Batman fan.
Aw, that is so cool.
Well,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah, speaking of which, Dom, that's actually where I ended up getting those autographed Funkos for Clarissa of like Adam West and Burt Ward.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at him right now in the office.
Yeah, that's where
Those things
that's
are
the
cool.
Same, that's the same con I got them at.
Oh, that's awesome. That's badass.
Nice.
I believe that was also the same con I got my one Stan Lee signature as well.
Oh,
Impressive,
that's gold
Zach.
right there.
That was a big day. It cost a pretty penny, but like it was a big weekend. Yeah.
Well, R.I.P. Kevin. Now, moving on. Now, I'm move us on to the next topic. Leading up to Wakanda Forever, and again, we're not going to spoil it. That's going to be at the end. But leading up to Wakanda Forever, this was like the big one of like the films that were coming out of Phase 4. Like a lot of people were anticipating, including myself, were like, what are they going to do with this next film? Like it was unbelievable, and of course with the past. Right,
yeah,
anyway.
I was about to say like it also has the fact that like it has a lot to live up to, especially with just generally how weak Phase 4 has kind of been.
There's only been like 2 or 3 good things coming out of it.
Okay, we're not talking about Phase 4. We're talking about just Wakanda Forever right now. We can talk about Phase 4 another time.
Yeah.
Okay, so
okay, that's fair.
Okay, so and with that, and with the unfortunate passing of Chadwick, there was even more anticipation of what they were going to do. Like, how are they going to move forward with the story? And leading up to that, I'll speak for myself. I did have an anticipation that they were going to pass the title of Black Panther to another character. Now, who that character was going to be was a bit of like some people like assume it was going to be Shuri because in the comics, Shuri does handle the mantle of Black Panther. But there was also like with the inclusion of Namor, that was also like a very interesting take that I want to discuss further. What about you guys? What was your like anticipation going about this film? Starting with you,
who's
Brent.
Okay, I was about to ask who's going to go first.
You.
So my anticipation. So like I was rocked by Chadwick's passing, and I no joke. Like I kind of blocked out the idea of a Black Panther sequel after he had passed because I was like, I don't even want to think about that. Just the dude was an amazing actor, and
no, that's totally fair.
Just he's like genuinely one of my favorite actors. So like when I heard the news, I was like, oh my god. Now when we finally started getting some more inklings of news about the movie, I was like, okay, now I want to see where this goes. My immediate thought was someone else is going to be Black Panther. I don't know who it's going to be. Someone else is going to be Black Panther. And now when I heard that Namor was going to be in the film, I was like, first of all, excellent choice for an antagonist for this one,
right?
Because he's not
considering their history.
Yeah,
they're
in the comics. Yes, excellent choice for a villain for a black or antagonist. I'm sorry, for a Black Panther film.
I know some people were suspecting like Doctor Doom for a while.
Yeah,
I saw why, but I was like,
no,
let's save Doom.
Doctor Doom is Fantastic Four. He does not belong in the.
Yeah, save Doom for later. Don't put him in a Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
And I think I was at that. My mindset was mostly just like I just want a solid movie continuing the story of the characters that we knew and loved from the first film.
Yes.
And as the trailers were coming out, that first trailer, the one with that cover of No Woman, No Cry, it might be my favorite Marvel trailer ever. Like it was,
that was solid,
perfect. It literally just told you this movie's gonna hurt, and that's it. That's all they showed you. Actually, no, that's what they said. This movie's gonna hurt. Namor's gonna fuck shit up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you're. That's all you need to know.
Well, you don't even really see Namor until the next trailer.
Yeah, I think you get one clip of him in the first one, but it's just from behind. Like it's just him rising out of the water. That's it. You don't see his face at all. But it's just, oh man, that first trailer set my brain like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's get to this movie. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to hurt again.
Yeah, basically. Basically, like it. Trust me, like I saw it. I didn't see it day one. I saw it the day after. But yeah, it hurt. That movie was a total gut punch. So yeah, the build up was at first I just kind of blocked out the idea of a sequel, but when we started getting some news, I got more interested, and then I finally just settled on just give me a good story with my favorite characters. That's all I want.
That's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care how it ties into the rest of the MCU at this point. Just give me a good story.
Yeah,
and
I remember in like one of your streams, you're talking about how you had conflicted thoughts about like, them not recasting T'Challa.
I think in this film, I was. So I think for what I ended up settling on, I even talked about it with my mom, and I talked about it because she loves the first movie. We talked about it. We were like, I think for this one, don't even think about recasting him because this movie's not about bringing in or like T'Challa's story continuing. This one's more so the cast and crew of the first one who loved and cared and respected Chadwick Boseman so much.
Yeah. Well,
this is their way. Yeah, this is their way.
We can get more into it in spoilers, but
but this is their way to like kind of help. It felt like it was therapy for them in a way to help move on and help them grieve over the loss of their friend. Because like, imagine if like you're going to work or something, and then you find out one day that like, your favorite coworker, like best friend, you hang out with that dude a whole lot, they're just gone.
Yeah,
and then they just have someone else replace them. Like that doesn't work.
Nope.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Having dealt with some of that. Well, I'll say this: that movie hit close to home for me in the first few minutes. I will say that much.
It did for me as well, my man. But like I'm like I couldn't imagine telling the cast of Black Panther like, oh, by the way, here's the new T'Challa. Like,
right?
That wouldn't work. Yep. So I don't blame them for doing that.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say real quick, the movie really works because the first movie actually sets up a whole cast of interesting characters that you can still continue the story of not just Black Panther or T'Challa, but Wakanda.
Yes,
exactly.
I do think that was like the strongest part of the first movie. The fact that like they did introduce so many interesting characters that I feel like could hold up this film.
Just a lovely, lively cast of characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And each one you could totally understand their motivations, their personalities, what makes them tick. Like you get all of it within a few minutes of screen time.
Yeah, like even like other MCU, and that's something I did better than like honestly a number of other MCU films.
Yeah,
I'm kind of looking at like Thor because like while we love Chris Hemsworth as Thor and we love Tom Hiddleston as Loki, it's really hard to like really remember and the rest of the cast outside of like his immediate family. Like we remember, Christopher Hopkins as Odin. We remember, his mother,
Anthony Hopkins. Yeah,
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
Hold up.
I was like, I didn't.
Now listen here, playa.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Zach. That in where Ryan where the director Ryan, where he worked on these films, one of his strengths is that his characters are very interesting, like all of them. Like even some of the minor roles that I remember in the first film and in Wakanda Forever. And that's where a lot of people pointed out that his villains are not like so stereotypical what we've seen. There's a lot of nuance to them. Like M'Baku, his original counterpart, Man-Ape, he was just a guy that wanted to beat Black Panther to take over, but he is like a much more like interesting
nuanced
and
character than that.
Exactly.
Yeah, like honestly, like I think using like anime terms, like he turned from like villain to like friendly rival.
Yeah, pretty much.
For
Cough,
the end of the
cough,
movie.
Vegeta,
Basically.
cough,
Yeah.
Sasuke.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like we know they like anime because like
I mean, M'Baku is basically like the Wakandan version of Vegeta in a way.
Well, I mean, again, Killmonger in the first one was wearing Saiyan armor.
Yeah.
He literally was.
basically, yes. That's what that's literally that's exactly what they said they based it off of.
Yep.
So does
Which
that make
Zach
him
talked
Baku?
about.
Wait, does that make him Baku Piccolo?
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
that's
Piccolo. I
a
don't
better,
care. I'm
that's a
going
better
with it. He's
description. Like that's a better description. Like, yeah, M'Baku is Piccolo. Killmonger is Vegeta.
Yeah.
Except Vegeta doesn't slowly turn into a good guy.
Right.
He just dies after the first arc.
Oh.
Yeah,
Sadness.
but yeah, go. So, Zach and Dom, like, what were your anticipations for like this film, for like Wakanda Forever?
Personally, I didn't have a lot of I was interested. I wanted to see it because the first one was really good, and I heard they were bringing in Namor, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, you know, Namor's an interesting character. So, really, at first, I didn't have any what's the word I'm looking for here?
Negative thoughts about this film? No negative.
Not so much negative thoughts. Just I had no expectations for the movie because you lose your leading man, and for most movies, your film's dead in the water right there.
Yeah.
So I had a more of a morbid curiosity of like, all right, how are y'all gonna do this? Like, what are y'all gonna do? And like as more of it came out, I was like, okay, I can dig it. And I was really sold on it when they showed Namor and Atlantis and all that having the Mesoamerican flavor to it, and I'm like, that is cool.
So goddamn good.
Yeah, like me and Brett are like the only two Hispanic people in like this call, and so
black.
like
my mother,
I'm the
mother,
Wakandan here.
my mother's family is Hispanic, but yeah, I get you, man.
Garrett, you're the colonizer here. I'm sorry.
Wow. Okay.
That makes him, so wait a minute. So I'm the Wakandan, then that means Zach's the Talokan.
Yeah.
So then
also,
Zach's so that means that's right. So you'll be Talokan. Shit, I'm outnumbered.
Me and Zach are the Talokans here.
Then we got Garrett. He's Agent Ross then.
Hey, I'm cool. I'm cool with that.
He's Martin Freeman's character.
I'm cool with that. I love Everett Ross. I love.
No, he's on
Freeman.
my side though. He's on my side though. So
yes, that's right. Cool. But like, do you guys see that?
It's a fair fight.
Do you guys see that meme where it's like, you guys are freaking African Americans plus Mark? Which I rock with Mark, he rocks with us.
And it just cuts to Martin Freeman. It's just like, yeah, that's literally the cast of this movie. It is mostly people of color and then Martin Freeman.
Yeah,
hey, look, you gotta have the token white guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The token white guy, yeah.
But I want to get to him in just a bit. But yeah, I want to go with what Dom is saying. I want to talk about like how with Namor's character, because in the original comic book counterpart, he is
generic white guy,
right? But like weird mutant with like elf ears and wings on his feet, but also the ruler of Atlantis, and who's always had like, he is very proud and arrogant. But this also comes into like the comic buildup that led to like T'Challa and Namor being such bitter rivals, because they didn't really. They worked together, but they didn't really like each other, and it just reached to a boiling point.
Well, yeah, they were both monarchs of their own people,
right?
Yeah,
and like
that's never going to work out.
Yeah, they both have their own country's interests at heart, and sometimes that conflicts with another country's.
Right, and I just
like.
Right.
So go ahead.
Right. And I just learned recently about like this all happens with like some of the big major events, starting with Secret Wars, where they were forced to fight each other, and then later on when the Phoenix Force imbued in 5 mutants, Namor was one of them. He along with the others were like reshaping the world, and he used his powers to flood the capital of Wakanda, which obviously drove like T'Challa to go against him, and then it just led into like more and more of them going after each other's people that led to this rivalry.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I do have a one point I want to make.
Namor's always been a complicated character.
Oh yeah,
when it comes to Marvel, because like he is basically like looking at the overall history of Marvel, he is their like second superhero. Like he's the second one the company ever created.
And
the first one was the first one was the original the first one
the
was
original Human Torch.
The Robo Human Torch.
Yeah, an android. Yeah, but and then second was Namor, and that actually led to their first big event, which was fire versus water.
And it turns out that he was actually the first comic book anti-hero because he was mainly he's mainly self-interest, and that's basically his whole character.
Yeah. Also
self-interest, but also he cares about his people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, fun fact: he is technically the first superhero to have the power of flight.
Yeah, Superman could only jump back then.
Yeah, back then. Yeah, remember, it was just leaping tall buildings in a single bound. Superman didn't have flight yet.
Wow.
Yeah, also, Superman basically had your standard super strength and speed and could jump really high.
Yeah, that's true.
It's this is back in the 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. But wow, yeah. So going to how they changed the character for this particular film, I agree with you guys. It is a brilliant move for changing Namor, changing Namor to this character because adding to this film of the Mesoamerican influence is that it shows that these two hidden, highly advanced, rich societies that are so interesting, but they have both been the victims of colonization. It's just a brilliant way to how this film.
Well, it's great parallelism between the two countries.
Yes.
And speaking personally, I'm really glad Marvel beat Sony to the punch when it came
you mean
to
DC?
Not just DC. I mean Sony, because I don't know if you guys heard, but Sony is making plans to make their first Hispanic-led superhero movie.
Oh yeah,
and it's literally the lamest thing I've ever heard.
I know.
Oh, you mean the Spider-Man villain guy?
El Muerte.
Oh god.
Who is just, I kid you not, a Mexican wrestler who wants to challenge Spider-Man to a wrestling match that J. Jonah Jameson pays for.
Oh god.
And he's literally only in 2 issues of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
That just
I know this because as a kid, I had the collection that had those 2 issues in it.
God.
That just shows how desperate Sony is right now.
Honestly, don't get me wrong. On the one hand, I'm fine with Sony keeping the license of Spider-Man if it means we get more Spider-Verse movies, the animated ones specifically.
Yes.
But I'm also Sony, please stop.
Yes.
No,
look, it's not Morbin time anymore. It needs to stop.
Morbin time wasn't a thing. Stop trying to make Morbin time.
They're so desperate to make the Sinister Six thing happen.
Yeah. And you already did it literally with No Way Home, and it was fine.
Apparently the way I heard this project happened was that they approached Bad Bunny, the rapper and actor. They approached him and said, "Hey, do you want to do a superhero movie for us?" Basically giving him free reign to pick whatever character they had in their library.
And he chose Jesus.
He chose El Muerte.
Yep.
Because he's a Mexican wrestler, and Bad Bunny occasionally makes appearances on WWE.
He's actually a really good. No joke. He's actually a really good wrestler too.
I didn't know that actually.
He had one match at WrestleMania 2 years ago or last year. It was last year at WrestleMania, and it was the best match of the night. I'm not kidding.
Okay, well,
wow.
And if I could,
actually, wait, I do have one thing I want to say about Namor and all that.
Yes,
they managed to make a Golden Age freaking costume look awesome.
Yes.
It wasn't a full-on Speedo, but it was shorts.
The whole grease shorts, yeah.
Yeah,
he
the
looks
shorts, the wings, they got the pointed ears,
the pointed ears. Like, I was like, dude, that's a king right there. He don't give up.
Yeah, I saw him, and I like the moment I saw like the actual look, I was like, oh, he's gonna fuck shit up.
Yeah,
Speaking of the costume, this is the moment I know the like Marvel is taking their CGI way too seriously. From like set photos, you can clearly see that through the shorts there is a bulge, and they removed that in post-production.
You mean to tell me we were robbed of Namor bulge?
You can no longer see Namor's bulge.
We gotta start a campaign.
They are
restore the bulge.
They are going too far with the CGI.
Well, you know what? I guess
we were this close to perfection.
Hey, look, you can't have the villain packing more heat than our heroes, unfortunately.
Okay, but I wanted to ask, like, what did you guys? I think it's like a really good idea. I love the costume ideas, but not only that, but also like the crown that he wore was like really cool, and the origin of his name, which we will get into in the spoiler territory. But I want to ask you guys, like, what did you think of like them changing Namor's origin to this Mesoamerican influence?
I love it. I mean, I said it earlier. He was generic white guy.
My stance on like race changing when it comes to like fictional characters is that for the most part it's fine, so long as like the character doesn't really rely on his race being part of his character.
Which the Namor, he was Atlantean, which was generic white guy. So you could do that.
Yeah,
right.
Like I found this. I feel like there's really only one superhero that relies on them being a white guy. And
Captain America?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Steve Rogers, Captain America.
Yes.
And the reason...
Yes,
I don't the reason being that, like... Yeah, go ahead. Go.
I'm sorry, Zach. I know what you're going to say, but I'm just hoping we could, like, keep it concentrated to, like, this film. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's fair.
Right.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with them changing Namor to Hispanic because, like, to me, I think, like, not only is it fine ethically speaking, I think, like, Namor is just a generic white guy in the comics, but I do think, like, it was also in there to, like, give extra flavor to, like, Atlantis and all that.
Right, because like Atlantis is like it's like a really blank concept in terms of like, well, yes, it came from Atlantis is like more of Greek and the Mediterranean influences, but it's like in more modern adaptations, it has been like become a bit more ambiguous. You know what I'm saying?
It is very ambiguous. Yeah. Like I will say that I think that was the one thing I was very disappointed in with Aquaman. Like, not only did we not get to see a lot of Atlantis, but like the design felt like very generic to me.
Yeah, well, I remember somebody described it as underwater Wakanda in Aquaman.
And
like I'm thinking, no,
it was generic sci-fi, which works.
It was generally sci-fi, but like I think like they didn't go far enough because like if you look at the designs of Wakanda, and like you can very much see like not just the influences they took from the comics, but also like the actual influences they took from like actual African cultures and how they imbued that into the design of characters' costumes and architecture and all these things. And I think that showed that they put a lot of care and effort into making it feel like a real place. More so even than the comics. Like, I think they did a really good job at like really making Wakanda feel like a real place. And I didn't really get that as much out of Aquaman's depiction of Atlantis.
Yes.
And like I haven't seen Black Wakanda Forever yet, I am hoping to see a lot of that influence in the design of Marvel's Atlantis.
It's there. It's there.
It's very much there.
Very much so. Very much so.
It's beautiful.
Like
I promise.
I want to hear like culture experts on like Central American cultures be able to like pick this film apart and really point out where the influences are. That like they did with like Wakanda in the first one. That's what I want to see. I want to see people actually looking into this and finding the real world connections that are in this film.
Right.
You can see that happening for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So and I also want to discuss about like what you guys feel about the actress who plays Shuri. I will say for like her portrayal of Shuri in this film was fantastic. She had like a very strong arc. I don't want to go into it, but I do feel like, you know, she really had her own character, like a very strong character in this film. I just wish, this is just me, I have not really seen her like physically train in her character. Like in the comic, Shuri is just as much as a good fighter as T'Challa, but she's also like, you know, has a lot of she also has like a lot of intelligence and a lot of like, she's very savvy with robotics. And the MCU Shuri, maybe she was trained. I'm not sure, but what do you guys think about Shuri so far?
So what I always thought was what I got from the movie. I'm going to try my best to explain this without spoiling anything that actually
Honestly,
happens.
I was just going to wait till the spoiler section before
Yeah.
we dive
Okay,
in.
I think
like that.
Okay,
maybe we should, because I'm like, I don't think I could talk about that without spoiling something. The most I can say is, I think the actress Letitia Wright does a fantastic job here. She does way better here than she did in the first movie.
Well, she had more to work with in this movie too.
Because in the first movie, she was mostly comedic relief, and she was great at that. She's funny.
Yeah.
She's very funny.
Yeah.
But in this one, you can definitely see they were like, all right, now you're going to do some capital A acting in this one, and they just let her do it, and she was great. Like, she's still really funny throughout the movie, but when it's time to dial it up, she knocks it out of the park every single time. She's great.
Nice. All right. So sorry, Zach.
I was actually gonna say I probably need to get going soon because like I have like the midnight release of the new Pokemon games I gotta get to.
Right.
Just so I can just like dip out during the spoiler section. Do we want to skip forward to what we think about the future of the MCU? Because wasn't that a topic?
Yes.
We want to talk about?
Oh yeah.
Yes, of course.
Let's jump into that real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So the past phase of Phase 4, what I've seen, and this definitely caps off with Wakanda Forever, is that it was a phase where the characters were dealing with grief. They were dealing with lost ones. They were dealing with past mistakes and but also passing the mantle. That's how I and a lot of others are seeing how Phase 4 has been. With Phase 5, we are definitely getting leaning more towards a multiverse saga with Kang coming in Quantumania with Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're getting a lot, and I'm just excited to see what that has in store leading up to eventually Phase 6 with Secret Wars in Kang Dynasty. Brett?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I started to feel after a while. It's like I don't necessarily just subscribe to the idea that Phase 4 wasn't that great, but because I thought it was fine. I feel like, look, trust me, I know how the internet works. Phase 5 is going to be whatever it is, whether it's good or bad. People are going to say that sucked and go Phase 4 was better. That's how this works. So it happened with Phase 2. It happened with Phase 3. It's going to keep happening. This is just how Marvel has become the new Star Wars in a way.
No, don't say that.
This is I have to say it because it's true now. It has been true. It's been true for years, and we've been too blind. But I loved that sentiment of that it's about grief and about passing the torch to all these new characters. Like we saw what Shang-Chi went through with the loss of his mother and how he was able to move on for the most part, but his father couldn't. Wenwu could not move on from it, and that ultimately caused his family to fall apart, and it also caused Wenwu's death, unfortunately. Of course, Loki. Lord, that poor man has lost God knows how much.
Yeah.
Him and Thor.
Yeah, and Thor. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But then you also have Doctor Strange not being able to move on from Christine, and also all the time he lost, being gone for 5 years.
Yeah.
He blinked, and now all of a sudden 5 years have passed. So it's just like that's all that time he lost. Of course, Black Panther. We already discussed enough of that. We'll get into more later.
Oh yeah,
WandaVision, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus. And then Moon Knight, I think, wrecked me the most when it came to grief, though. Jesus.
Yes.
It's like Moon Knight was out of pocket for how rough it got there in those last couple episodes. But
Hey. We had a talking hippo.
yes,
That is true.
but that
The best
episode
girl.
still hurt. That episode hurt a lot. But yeah, like I like that, and I'm curious to see where Phase 5 goes. I don't really have much to speculate for it though, like, because honestly, while I'm interested in a lot of the new projects, I'm also kind of just at a point with Marvel where I'm just like, don't go in with super high expectations anymore,
Right.
because I'm like, Endgame already,
Yeah,
Endgame and
like-
Spider-Man No Way Home already happened.
Right.
They're not topping this anytime soon.
My expectations has been lowered, but like for very different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll admit, growing up, I was very much in the nerd phase of like the MCU is like everything growing up. And like a lot of us went through that, especially when we were going through our lives with these movies. Like,
Yeah,
I was still in
practically
I
grew
was-
up with them.
yeah, like I
True.
was still in high school when the first Avengers came out,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's so hard to think of that as like a long time ago.
I mean, 10 years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been about has it been a decade already, or is it next year?
Avengers came out in 2012.
Oh
yeah.
crap!
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a decade old now. So
Jeez, back to what I said about Strange losing time.
Yeah.
but yeah, like over like the past like 2 years, last year or so, like I had to say, yeah, my expectations for Marvel has been like lowered. And I think that's because like it's for two reasons. One, I do think like some of the quality has kind of dipped a bit. And I think that is partially due to like them taking on so many projects and having too many cooks in the kitchen at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Because like everyone can agree that like the MCU's ideas of the multiverse are a little bit messy right now. And I think that's because different writers have like different ideas about how it works.
Right.
Oh, but that's also the multiverse for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like we got one version of it in like WandaVision, and then we got another version of it in Loki. Then we got another version of it in like Spider-Man No Way Home, and we got another even completely different version in Doctor Strange, and they keep making
I
different
feel like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man were a little closer.
Yeah.
In
They
like
were closer.
idea.
They were closer to each other than Loki was, but I think
Yeah,
that's
yes.
because they had.
and like
Since Strange
what
was
makes
in
this
both movies.
yeah, what makes this like even more weird to me and baffling of how this happened is that the writer for Doctor Strange was also the writer for Loki. So he's essentially created two different versions of how the multiverse works.
Whoops.
Like,
Hey, look, you got mystical and slightly more scientific.
Right.
like,
Two distinct
And the-
explanations for the exact same
and
thing.
like that, and like that's not even going into the decreasing quality of the CGI as of late.
Yeah.
Oh,
like-
that's an entire video in and of itself.
It is.
Yeah, like-
Yeah.
I will say, Wakanda Forever had better CG than the first Black Panther movie did.
Well, yeah, because
My opinion, I think it actually had much better CG.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
still
And like
could have been way better, but
this is so weird because this is now like essentially the second worker strike that Marvel is about to cause again, because like they caused a writer's strike back in the 90s with some of their top talent that led them to create Image Comics. That was
yeah,
that was Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and Rob Liefeld. They were like their top writers and artists at Marvel, and they felt they weren't getting properly compensated for all the success they were bringing the company. And so they left and formed Image Comics.
Oh, I thought they formed Dark Horse.
No, it was Image.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but
it's strange the fact that like Marvel is going to cause another like worker strike, this time with like all the CGI artists.
Yeah, the CGI artists, they have come out and said like how working for Marvel has become like such like hell working for them. But
yeah,
I think recently I think with Marvel delaying some of their other projects like Secret Wars and some of their other projects, I hope that they have learned that we don't need like all of this content within a short amount of time. Spent like I think you could delay it. Just give it more time. Give us better quality. We don't want more.
Yeah.
I'm also hoping that going forward they cool it on like the TV shows, because like it's getting, because like the reason why
it's too much.
Yeah,
like, I think
there's too much content to consume now.
Yeah, like that was the reason why the first 3 phases were like generally easy for everyone to consume.
Right.
Because like it was just like the big summer movie event of the year, the Marvel movie. So like keeping up with it, keeping track of it was so much easier back then. Like but like now with like them having like movies coming out, well they also have TV shows coming out on Disney Plus. It's become much more of a time sink.
Yeah, and
because like I think I've only watched, of all the TV shows they put out, I've only watched 2 of them to completion. And no, 3. I saw 3 of them, and that's mostly because I was watching with my family. And that was WandaVision, Loki, and Moon Knight. I haven't gotten deep into Miss Marvel. I haven't even started She-Hulk. and like, yeah, it's that's the one that's like I said, that was one of the reasons why the declining quality and just overall, just how much there is to consume now.
Right.
But the other reason I've been like somewhat falling out of love with like the MCU is because over the last year I've basically been forced to like consume more classics in terms of like media. Like I've been taking a class this year called Studies in Science Fiction. I've been having to read a lot of classic sci-fi novels. And it's good. All this older stuff is good, and it's saying so much more than like what I get out of a Marvel movie. And then like I've also been seeing a lot of more classic movies. Like just recently at Draft House, me, my brother, and my partner Ray, we went to go see Akira. We went to go see The Thing. And like I was enjoying myself so much more with those movies.
And like this is why you got to diversify your the content you watch, because I don't just watch Marvel. I watch a lot of stuff.
That's why I hate discussing media online, is because 90% of people do not have media literacy anymore.
No, they fucking don't.
And I want to get media literacy. Start watching Turner Classic Movies.
There you go.
And simple.
Yeah, like no, yeah, like I do think like it's because everyone's like media diets are now just
memes and Facebook.
Memes, Facebook, and the action movie of the week. Like
right.
Like
So Garrett, you've been trying to get in there. What's going on?
Sorry, I just want to say, like, I totally get where you're coming from, Zach. That right now, in this time period, we're just seeing a lot of franchise films, not just Marvel and DC, but also like a lot of film studios are making like Fast and Furious films and all this other stuff because their number one goal is to make money. It's to get people to watch their films, and they just go with what people are going to.
Right. Yeah, it's the same thing we were talking about earlier with Rob before we started the stream, like about Robin Hood, like that era in the 2010s. The whole big thing was just let's take all these classics and just make them darker.
Right. And what I will say about the Marvel is that, yes, there is a lot of content that they're putting out there. And here's the thing, but here's something that I've realized that I should have realized earlier. You don't have to watch all of them. You don't have to watch everything that like this studio or another studio puts out. You could just watch what you want to watch and enjoy it. And and for me, at least, I do like the content for the most part, what they're putting out there, because it gives us a lot of different perspectives with with Wakanda Forever. And that's okay. Just,
I will say that. Yeah.
But yeah,
I will say I am somewhat more. I do think I'm more okay with like the second batch of shows as compared to like the first ones, because like the first few batches of shows, WandaVision and Loki, they felt like they're supposed to be required reading, and as we saw in some of the movies, they were required reading. I will say that I do think like what's good about Moon Knight and what I appreciate about Miss Marvel and She-Hulk is that they are just about these characters, setting them up and establishing them.
Yes, and
they're not setting up stuff for other movies. It would have been so easy to make Moon Knight required reading for something like, Thor: Love and Thunder with all the talk about gods and all that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm glad that they restrained, or at least like the creators of Moon Knight were like, unwilling, or like not willing to like, play ball with like trying to interconnect everything.
Right.
Like they chose to like just tell their story and not worry about, what it means for the greater MCU.
Which is why Spider-Man No Way Home is actually one of the better Spider-Man movies of the MCU, because it's not exactly playing ball with the rest of the MCU. It's about Spider-Man, which has been my biggest gripe the last couple of movies.
Like, Strange is in it, but he's not the main focus. Like,
he's
he
not
doesn't
like,
take
hey,
away from Peter's story.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's all this other stuff going on in the MCU. It's like, no, he's adding to Peter's story.
Yes.
Yeah,
and making
he's not
some
taking
of the
away
shenanigans possible.
But it's kind of
exactly.
But it is kind of required reading for the other Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, but like, that's what I'm saying. But like, I think like once again, that was a movie,
right?
It's supposed to be like a big deal that like everyone knows is coming out. I don't think everyone knows about like all the TV shows. The average moviegoer who's trying to keep up with the MCU, if they're not subscribed to Disney Plus,
they're screwed.
Then like, they're screwed.
There's definitely some holes missing, and you're gonna be wondering what the absolute hell.
I know when I saw Doctor Strange, there were some people who were lost with Wanda in that movie. They were like, "What?
Yeah.
What's her deal? I thought she was a good guy."
She's a bad guy now.
So,
Yeah.
Which, surprise, surprise, Scarlet Witch is sometimes a hero, sometimes a villain. Like in the comic books.
But
I mean, we saw that with Age of Ultron. So,
but
like that's definitely and we know that that's definitely going to be, unfortunately, a factor going forward, especially now that Kang is going to be a part of the future of the MCU.
Right.
His first appearance was in Loki, the TV show.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, I really do hope they cool it with like, that. Like, I did see like, I think like in a Shea Frilla's video, he pointed out the fact that like there right now is not a single streaming service out there that relies on established IP more than Disney Plus.
Yes. I agree with
like
that.
every other major one, like Netflix, Hulu, even HBO Max, they've all done the work to create.
They diversified.
Diversify and create new original content for their platform that's not tied into anything they previously own.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been
If I could
easy.
jump in here and get my thoughts on it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so what were we talking about again?
We're talking
Future of the
about
MCU.
Future of the MCU and okay. So as far as Phase 5 goes, I don't know what's going to happen. I just know Kang's going to be showing up, and he's another one of those really storied characters from Marvel Comics, and he's a big deal, and most of them on the same level that Ultron, Thanos, Apocalypse.
He's also one of the most overly complicated characters.
Yeah.
It's because of
time travel.
Hold your breath.
Because time travel.
Yeah,
time travel. Time travel.
Yeah, so good luck, casual viewers. Well, I'm sorry in advance. Because even I barely.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna act like I'm
look
a Kang
forward,
expert, but
look
it's
forward
nuts.
to the hundreds of Who is Kang videos that are going to come up on YouTube as we get closer to these movies. From
the next one's coming up. They'll start coming up when Ant-Man comes out. That comes out in February.
Yeah.
So get ready for that.
No, but looking back
for
on
that, and prepare to have your just be to just have your brains melt from and just prepare to hear the term because comics a lot.
Yep.
Yes, but you were saying, Dominic?
So, and then looking back at Phase 4, it was, to y'all's point, definitely about grief. It was also about legacy, and I think more so than grief, it was how do all these characters pick up their lives after Endgame and Infinity War. How does everybody else pick up their lives after that?
And I think the Phase 4 did a lot about that. Actually, I didn't even think about that.
No, that's as so much as it's about grief and loss. It's more about how do all these characters move on with their lives after
everything that's happened.
Yeah, cataclysmic, earth-shattering events. Some of them retire and pass on their mantle. Some characters come into their own, and others are just getting their start, and some of them are coming back to life.
Yeah,
because Thor at the end of it all is just like, who the hell am I? And by the end of Love and Thunder, he finds himself again.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love that about Love.
I just remembered a TV show I forgot that I'm pretty sure most people forgot. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I watched most of that except for the last episode.
I love that show.
The last episode's actually really rewarding. The last episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's solid.
I loved it.
Yeah, but actually, guys, I'm gonna have to probably peace out here in a little bit.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think so. Thank you, Zach, and for joining us, because I know you gotta get ready to pick up that Pokemon game. Let us know how it is.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I will. All right. So long.
Thank you.
I'll send away, go, bro.
All right, now, and Dom, I know you got to leave soon, so how about we just talk about the spoilers for Wakanda Forever briefly?
Okay.
Actually, real quick.
I'll give y'all my thoughts on it real quick.
Yes.
So,
go for it.
Wakanda Forever. I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. I had practically zero expectations going into this movie, and I basically come out of it just like, wow, they nailed it. They found a way to make the movie without Chadwick Boseman while it's still have it work.
Yeah.
Couple that with introducing a very compelling antagonist. He's not a villain because Namor, he's not doing anything spiteful or for the sake of villainy or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's not Goblin. He's just trying to protect his people and do what's best for them. Yeah. And sometimes what's best for you and your people is going to run in contradiction or against what other people are trying to do.
Right. Yeah.
And there's nothing more nothing more human,
which is what makes it more complex in a way. Even the way the movie ends, Shuri beats him. There's air quotes there. but he doesn't.
Won.
It's like, but in a way, like he didn't lose. Like
No,
he still
won.
wins in the end.
Yeah, because
and you can
goal.
even see Shuri. And I love that Shuri doesn't see it as a victory either. She's just like, we need to stop this. This isn't getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
and then Namor, loved the actor, loved the look. They made him actually look awesome, rocking the trunks and the ears and the wings. Like you're like, oh my god, this dude's a killer right here.
no, dude, seeing him come out of the water in the shadows in front of Ramonda and Shuri. Coolest entrance for an antagonist in any movie I've seen in a while. It was so good. I was like, oh shit.
Like you automatically know, like, you don't want to mess with this guy.
Yeah, like it just screamed like, don't try him.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Well, and then kind of moving on forward, sorry guys, we're just jumping right into spoilers because I have to get out of here, but I love how they gave him the name, like how his name came about, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a great way to do it, and just I enjoyed it.
I think that pronunciation of Namor is just so.
Yeah,
it sounds more
intimidating.
It sounds more intimidating than Namor.
It adds right. It adds so much nuance to the character and how it just solidifies with what he is struggling with and how other people see him and how he sees himself.
Yep. Which it was El Niño Sin Amor.
Yes, the child without love.
Yep. Which I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that is the best. Like, just it's so good. Yeah. Like, even the way he introduces himself, he's like the people who know me call me Kul Khan, but my enemies call me Namor. And I was like, oh fuck.
Whoever was the writer who thought of that needs a raise.
Probably Ryan Coogler. It was probably Ryan Coogler.
No, which is brilliant, brilliant, and everything works. Bringing Riri Williams, Ironheart. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like showing the kind of Iron legacy.
I like her here more than I do in the comics, honestly. So,
well, I mean, it makes sense, but
like
the movie only works because the first movie worked in our protagonists, which Shuri's the main character, but it's all of Wakanda too. You got Ramonda, and then
Ramonda, Okoye, Io,
Nakia.
There's another one, Nakia, and there's another Dora Milaje that we meet early on. She's the one with like the little laser blades. I can't remember her name, but
I don't remember either.
But she was great too.
Yeah, she was.
It was very much an ensemble movie. It wasn't so much one of these characters carried the film, although Namor definitely stole the film.
Yeah.
Namor, in my opinion, Namor and Queen Ramonda stole it for me. Both of them yanked that movie as hard as they could. Like, no, this is my movie, bitch. Yeah. Like, they went all in with it.
Oh, definitely. But all right, I think that's my take on it. I was astounded by it. Me and my friend who I went and saw it with were just like, dude, this was dope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But all right, guys, I'm going to peace out here.
Thank you, Dominic.
And just quick shout out.
Thank you, bro.
To Miss Bettis Plays. Go and check out her Twitch channel. She's a blast to watch.
Yes.
Can confirm. We've watched her.
Yes, we have. All right. Bye.
Later, guys.
See you, Dom.
All right, Brett. How long do you have? How long are you good to like talk about like some of the more spoilers and details if you're cool with that?
Yeah, we can go in for a little bit more, a little deeper.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I would like. Would you mind going first?
Yeah. No worries. So like I said earlier, I went in with lower expectations because I was nervous about this one. I was like, how are you not only going to tell a good movie about the people of Wakanda going up against Namor, and also pay tribute to Chadwick Boseman?
Yeah.
The first 10 minutes of the movie shut me up. Just immediately. I have not been that wrecked by the opening of a movie since I think Up. And I think that this one was a little bit harder because we're dealing with an actual person, not just the character.
Yeah.
And I remember, no joke, I actually remember, so on TikTok I cannot for the life of me remember this guy's name, but I remember seeing it and I was like, I'm doing this. he said they were basically, he was playing a character like he was a messenger from Wakanda or whatever, and he was like, what we're gonna do for this movie is we're gonna show up in all white,
right,
as a way to honor Chadwick Boseman's life and celebrate his life. Not just, we're not going to be here to be sad, we're here to celebrate his life and career. Yeah. So we decided to, so myself, my girlfriend, and my mom, we all wore all white to go see the movie. We were kind of like, yeah, like I was like, because that's what this movie is for us, me especially. I think I felt Chadwick's passing harder than they did, but like I actually remember my girlfriend messaged me the night he passed, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." But back into the movie. So they have your tribute to Chadwick at the very beginning and at the very end. Yeah. It's very respectful, very what's the right word? It's very respectful. It's very thoughtful. Yes. They do it in a way that doesn't feel like they're trying to milk every bit of Chadwick Boseman they can. Because you only see I think you only see his face twice in the entire film. Yeah. One at the beginning on the mural, and then at the end during the little montage that Shuri has. Yes. That's it. You do not see him for most of the movie, and I love that. Because they could have easily, getting into more spoilers, really deep spoilers now, when Shuri takes the heart-shaped herb that she made in her lab, thanks, Killmonger, you asshole. Because Killmonger burned it all, so she had to make a synthetic one. Right. And that's one of the reasons why she's desperately trying to make a new one as T'Challa his health is failing. Yeah. And it just doesn't work. Like, no matter what she does, she just can't get the right concoction to make this new heart-shaped herb. But she finally, due to her interactions with the Talocan people, which is what they've called Atlantis in this film. Right. It's Talocan, not Atlantis. I appreciate that because I think getting two different Atlantises mixed up in these movies would have been ridiculous. So just giving it a completely different name, I'm perfectly fine. And it feels more culturally relevant for what they were going for with the Mayan Mesoamerican style. Yeah. So, but I love how they tie it in, like, oh, well, they have vibranium as well, and they have this, and this. Maybe that could work to make a new heart-shaped herb. Yeah. And it does. But it's just, the whole movie, like, when I start thinking about it, there were parts of this film that I'm like, I feel like you could have cut that out, maybe shed a couple of minutes off. But the more I think about it, I'm like, the parts of the Black Panther movies I like the most are the ones where they're just talking. Right. They're just sitting there having a conversation with each other. Like, the action's great. Don't get me wrong, it's a superhero movie. But all of the dialogue seemed perfect. Yes. I don't think there was a single line of dialogue that felt out of place or unnecessary. Admittedly, sure, maybe you could have shed off a few minutes of Agent Ross's scenes. I feel like there were a few scenes you probably could have cut out and you wouldn't have missed a whole lot. But even then, you know, like, you see how he helps Wakanda despite not being there anymore. Right. Like, he says himself, he owes them his life because they saved him. If it literally wasn't for Wakanda, he'd be dead. Right. So, and you see how much he respects them, especially after the passing of T'Challa. You see how much he respects them, and is just like, no, like, these people they're good people. You know, like, these are good people. Don't mess with them. Like that. Like, they're good, or they're good people. Do not mess with them, though. They will fuck your shit up. Right. And I appreciate that. Like, you see that he is very much. He's what a good ally is, basically. It's like, pay attention to Ross, everybody. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's that. The more I could talk about Namor for hours, but the most I will say, if you need a perfect description of his character in this film, it's when this is the part where I'm like, I can totally understand people calling him a villain because you do not touch this woman. You do not kill Angela Bassett in a movie. You don't do that. But when he floods Wakanda, he wrecks Wakanda hardcore, and then drowns Queen Ramonda right in front of Shuri. Yep. And the line he delivers, I think it was like, mourn your lost, bury your dead. And it was just like, I was like, this man is cold. Just, oh my God. Like, don't get me wrong. Again, he's not necessarily a villain. I wanted that man dead.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted that man dead. I was like, nope. Sure, you gotta mess that dude up. I'm sorry. Like I don't care anymore. And I'll see people say, "Oh, she didn't earn the right to be Black Panther. She didn't work hard enough, or like she's not as good a skilled fighter." Which they show the fight between her and Namor. She gets beat pretty bad.
Yeah.
When they're on even playing field, oh yeah, he absolutely has complete control of the fight. But she also weakened him. She had to weaken him before she could even get a hit in.
Right.
Because she went one-on-one to beat him. But I like that she fights him using her smarts, not just her physical strength.
Yes.
And because she probably, if she was a more skilled fighter, like on the level of T'Challa, probably would have been a fair fight.
Right.
But without that fighting skill, without that knowledge, she has to use her brain to beat him. And it's brilliant the way she does, the way they figure it out. What else about the movie do I like? M'Baku is hilarious.
Yes.
Look, no, my favorite line in the movie, well, just for everybody, "You bald-headed demon!" The theater I was in lost it when he yelled that out. It was the funniest line of the whole movie. It was so good. Oh, so perfect. But I also appreciate how tender M'Baku is. He is the definition of a gentle giant.
Yes.
Like, yeah, he's a bit oafish. He's a bit of a brute. But you see how much he cares for Wakanda as a whole. Like, he's part of, like, the council now. Yes. You know? Like, that's how much respect he's been given. And how much more... or also his interaction with Shuri during Ramonda's funeral.
Yes.
Maybe easily one of my highlights of the movie for me. Yes. You see how much he's like, I promised your brother I would look after you. Like, he's basically like the cool uncle or the cool cousin in a way. And you just see he sees the rage seething underneath her after the death of Ramonda. Because she just lost her brother. Wait, hold on. Let me get this right. She lost her father, 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
Then she lost her brother, and then a year later she loses her mother. So she lost her entire family.
Yep.
She's pissed. She has every right to be angry and every right to be like, I want that fish man's head on a stick, you know? But I love that M'Baku's like, no, don't do that. Like, that's not you. Like, I know you well enough. That is not who you are. Like, despite where they came from in the first film, where he's like, she scoffs at tradition, or whatever his line was.
Right.
But now he sees her, and he's like, he treats her like family. You see how gentle he is with her, and it's just like, no, don't do this. Do not go down this route. It's not going to bring you the peace you think it will.
Yes.
And it's possibly because M'Baku's been there before. Because he was kind of a jerk in the first film, but in this one, you see how much he's grown. And it's great. I love it. Like, sleeper hit of the movie was M'Baku as a character in general. I love him.
Yeah.
And I'm actually praying to God he's the new king of Wakanda, because good Lord knows what he'll do. Yeah, like, the whole movie's fantastic. It didn't quite beat Nope as my favorite movie of the year.
All right.
But it got very close. It was very, very close. The only reason I went with Nope more was because, like I said, I felt like you could have shaved off a few minutes with Martin Freeman as Agent Ross. You probably could have shaved a few minutes off of those. Other than that, the movie's as perfect of a sequel as you could possibly do without your leading man. And I didn't even get to mention T'Challa Jr., T'Challa 2, T'Challa the Second. I didn't even get to mention him.
Right.
But seeing the moment she said, like, tell her your name, I was like, he's gonna say T'Challa, isn't he? He's gonna be T'Challa Jr., isn't he? And then he said it, and I was like, I started to cry. I was like, oh no, don't do this to me, movie.
Aww.
But it was a cute tribute. It was a nice way to be like, see, look, his legacy will live on. Like, T'Challa's legacy will continue to live, not just through Shuri, but through Nakia and then T'Challa the Second.
Yes.
I love this movie. Like, I really love this movie. It's not even just like this doesn't have to be part of the MCU. and it ties into the greater MCU, I guess, with the lady from
Val
Thunderbolts, the lady who's recruiting the Thunderbolts. Like, sure, cool, whatever. I didn't need that. You could have, like, that's the stuff I'm like, you could have totally cut her out, and I would have been perfectly fine. But you could have made her a completely different character, and I would have been totally fine.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like the movie, while it has its connections to the MCU, I appreciate that it feels more like a self-contained story about not only grieving the loss of the King of Wakanda and then the Queen of Wakanda, but also this oncoming war between Talokan and Wakanda.
Yeah.
And of course, Shuri, our main character, having to find the courage, find the like she's burying herself in her technology because of all of this loss she suffered. Mm-hmm. And you can definitely, you want her to like suit up. You want to see her like, no, like it has to be you. Like you have to move on and become the next Black Panther. Like you have to protect your home. But she's just like, I can't do that because that's not her. She doesn't, and I get the feeling that she didn't want to be Black Panther until Namor killed Ramonda. Mm. So, but once that happened, she was like, nope, that's it. I'm killing this man. So yeah, I think that the movie is handled extremely well. It's as close to perfect as you can possibly get, and it's it's up there with the best of Phase 4, alongside Shang-Chi and Spider-Man. It's perfect. It's a perfect movie in a way. Nice.
Yeah, do you have anything more to
add? Let me see. Oh, am I allowed to talk about the recast T'Challa thing?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, because that's really like the only... Okay, so I was iffy at first about T'Challa dying. I knew he was going to, but I was also, part of me was like, maybe he won't? Or maybe they'll find a way to bring him back or something? And unfortunately, this movie ruined my dream idea for what I had in mind for a replacement, because I was like, why not? You don't have to recast our T'Challa. He can stay dead. Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, he can stay dead. Please keep him dead. Do not bring him back to life.
Right.
But what they could do is multiverse is open. Variants are a thing.
I was thinking the same thing.
There you go. Like, you can easily have a variant of T'Challa take over and have him be the new... he doesn't have to replace Chadwick in a way. Like, he doesn't have to be the main character.
Right.
But just, he's there. He exists, and you can use him whenever you want to. The dream casting choice would be John Boyega for me.
Okay.
Disney, give him a second chance. I went with John Boyega because of you ever see the movie The Woman King that came out a few months ago?
I have not yet.
It is fantastic.
Okay.
But John Boyega is one of the main peak characters in that film. He plays the king of this African nation. But when I saw him, I was like, first of all, I was just appreciating his acting. I was like, holy crap, this man's a good actor. Damn, Disney screwed him over.
Yeah.
I was like, man, Disney screwed him over. But then I'm also like, that there's that selfish part of my brain that was like, I would love to see him as T'Challa. I think he would kill it. But my dream was in maybe in a new Black Panther movie or Secret Wars or whatever. You get a portal opens up and a male Black Panther comes out, and it's clearly T'Challa. You can tell by the suit. It looks very similar to one of the old ones from the first movie. But then they stop and they're like, okay, who the hell is that? Because Shuri's Black Panther, so who the hell is that? That can't be who we think it is.
Right.
And the dream scenario, unfortunately, Wakanda Forever ruined this for me, was Ramonda would walk up to him and she would be like, take off your helmet or take off your mask or whatever. And then he goes, or like you hear him at first, you hear him go, mother, or mom or mom or mama or whatever. And she goes, take off your mask. And he does. And it's revealed, brand new actor. And then she touches his face or something. And she just simply goes, you don't look like him, but I can tell you're my son. Oh. Like, I really wanted to see something like that. Mother and son relationships are very personal for me. And that's why Spider-Man No Way Home messed me up. So
I get that. I get
that. But yeah, like I would have loved that moment of her just seeing this different face, but she could just feel like that's my kid. I can tell that's my kid. Or But I mean, you could do that with Shuri, I guess. Like, she walks up to him and it's like, you don't look like him, but I can tell you're my brother. That'll still work.
Yeah.
But I was like, damn it! Like, I really wanted to hear Angela Bassett say that. Now we're never gonna get it. So yeah, but like that's the dream scenario. But I do 100%. Like I said earlier, I was like, I completely understand why they didn't recast him for this one.
Right.
I nearly made a TikTok about it because a guy I used to like on TikTok, who now just makes nothing but really crappy MCU rants, but he made a video complaining that they recast Thunderbolt Ross like months after William Hurt passed away, which was still a sad event. I was like, oh crap, William Hurt's gone? No.
Yeah.
But because he was also a fantastic actor.
Right.
But yeah, they recast him, so Thunderbolt Ross will be played by Harrison Ford now,
Right.
which is exciting. But the guy was like, now why didn't they do the same thing for T'Challa? And it's like, T'Challa's the main character. It makes perfect sense for them to not recast him all of a sudden. So
yeah,
I think it would have been. It's like, imagine. What's the best way I can put it? I mean, I know I was about to say like, oh, they did that for Dumbledore and Harry Potter, but I don't know. I feel like people didn't react as weird to Harry Potter back then.
Right. I think he's also.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, but I think I'm like, imagine if like, what's a good way to put it? I'm trying to think of another character that was. Imagine if Chris Evans passed away randomly.
Right.
You know, and I'm using him. I feel like he's the best example because he was like arguably the heart and soul of the MCU, whereas Tony was the face of the MCU.
Yes.
But yeah, like I'm like, imagine if Chris Evans just up
so
and
many Chris's
passes away one day. Yeah, there's too many. But like Chris Evans one day randomly passes away. Like this is before like Winter Soldier comes out.
Right.
You know what? Let's say after Winter Soldier. I think Winter Soldier is when people started to go like, "Oh wait, Cap's actually cool."
Yeah.
So let's say before Age of Ultron, Chris just suddenly passes away, and then all of a sudden they just throw in another actor in there and just keep going. Fans would react a little weird to that.
Right.
Who the hell's that guy? That's not Captain America. Who's that? So, and they're already doing that for Sam Wilson, but that's a totally different conversation. But yeah, like it would be weird. Fans would definitely be like, "That's not who we saw before. What happened? Why did you just replace him?" But I also think my mom brought this argument up where she said, "Imagine all those little black kids don't always have they don't have a lot of heroes to look up to, mainstream heroes.
Right.
We had Static Shock back in the day, but that was a cartoon that not everybody watched. A lot of us did, but not everybody did.
Right.
Or we even had like Cyborg on Teen Titans, but that was another cartoon. T'Challa was the king of an African nation and one of the biggest superheroes on the planet for a few years after that first movie came out.
Yeah.
So, and seeing other black kids have that hero that they could look up to, and they can still have that hero with Shuri. Absolutely, they can still have it with Shuri.
Right.
But again, T'Challa's gone now. Like, that character is not going to be in the movies anytime soon. We don't know if he'll ever come back. We don't know. So it's one of those where it's like, damn it. That was the perspective that made me go, okay, they have to bring T'Challa back, even if he's a variant and we only see him one or two more times. You got to have him come back just for them.
Right.
Like, because I feel like that there's a gaping hole in the MCU. And while Shuri is great, and I'm sure that Letitia Wright could help carry another movie because she did a fantastic job in Wakanda Forever, there's still going to be that hole. Like, we'll all know, like, we're still missing T'Challa, though.
Right.
And it is a very much damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. And I don't envy Marvel, Kevin Feige, or anybody in that position. Because they were probably like, look, if we recast him, people are going to get upset because they're like, what the hell, you just recast him after he died. But if you don't recast him, people are going to be upset that T'Challa's not here anymore. Right. So I think they picked the least painful option, but Yeah, it's a very touchy subject, and like God only I know apparently Chadwick's brother was apparently like totally on board with T'Challa coming back or being recast.
Right.
But I also think like Wakanda Forever was not the movie to do that with.
Yes.
This was not. This was for his friends and his family and the people who cared about him and loved him and knew him best to grieve and honor him.
Yes.
Next movie, do whatever the hell you want. But do whatever the hell you want as long as everyone is on board with it.
Yes.
But Wakanda Forever, it needed to be for them. And that's what the movie felt like to me. The movie was for them, not just for us.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons I appreciate the film so much.
Yes. And yeah, I totally agree with you on that point. And is there anything else that you want to add?
Soundtrack's dope.
Yes, definitely. The soundtrack was really dope. Yeah.
The soundtrack is very, very good. I really like. I'm weird. I really like film soundtracks. Like not the score. I love scores. I love film scores. But I adore movie soundtracks where they just get a bunch of random artists to basically.
Bro, I'm there with you.
Like to basically just like. But here's the thing. It has to be either like how they did with Black Panther or how they did it with Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are the only two ways you can do it. Because one, in Guardians, while it is all music that already existed and they're putting it to help score the movie, it helps tell the story or tell the narrative or the soundtrack. Yes. The way I heard one of my friends describe it was that the Guardian soundtracks felt like the soundtrack is a character in itself.
Yes.
And it does help drive the story in a way for especially for Star-Lord. But for Black Panther, you don't hear a lot of the music. The music, okay, so the soundtrack for Wakanda Forever is 20 songs long.
Right.
It's a very long album. But what I like about it is that there's only a few songs that show up in the movie, but the ones that do fit the film perfectly. The rest of them are very much like, hey, let's get these artists some recognition.
Yeah.
Let's put these guys together. It's kind of how I described the first one for the first film with Kendrick Lamar. While I love that album, it's great. It felt like Kendrick Lamar just got a bunch of his friends to make a movie or make a soundtrack for Black Panther. Yeah. And it's great. It's a great album. Like I said, there's only really one song on that album that I have issues with because it's not very good, but I also like it because it's very stupid. I'll send it to you later. Like you've probably heard it, but I'll send it to you later. But yeah, like this one feels so much more emotional. Yeah. And that's what like my favorite song on the album was Alone by Burna Boy. It's track 3 and it steals the album for me. It like the rest of the album was a bit of a downgrade after that. I was like, why did y'all start so strong? And I think Alone plays. That's how they hook you. Yeah, and I think that's the song that I think I could be wrong. I'm gonna go see the movie again next week, but as of right now, I'm gonna go see the movie again next week. But I plan on what the hell was I saying? I think that song Alone plays during the scene where Shuri is getting all of her tech ready to go. Like she's getting the Midnight Angels armor ready. She's helping Riri develop her Ironheart suit. She's getting the heart-shaped herb ready. Everything. She's doing all of that. That little montage, I think the song plays during that scene. And I think that's why it stuck with me. It's just Shuri finally gearing up and saying, all right, let's go to work. Like, I can't just sit here and do nothing anymore. Like, I can't sit here anymore. I have to do something now. And I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of just like, I've just been doing nothing for God knows how long. Or like when something really horrible happens in your life, you just kind of bury yourself in something.
Yes, definitely.
And you're not doing anything really productive. And that scene really stuck out to me because I just like seeing that. I don't know. I like seeing some of my favorite characters just go through shit and then just climb their way out. Reasons why Thor's arc throughout Ragnarok and through Endgame, and to an extent Love and Thunder, is one of my favorite arcs out of any Marvel character. It's just so perfect.
I'm with you there,
man. You see him go through hell and you see him climb out of it. And it's just nice to see that. It's nice to see people when they're in that rut finally find a way out. And Shuri, throughout Wakanda Forever, is like slowly but surely getting out of that hole that she fell into when T'Challa had passed away.
Definitely,
because you see how much you see their relationship throughout the first film, and it's very cute. It's a very cute sibling relationship, despite the age difference. T'Challa, I think, was in his early 30s,
right?
Whereas Shuri, I think, was like a very late teenager, so probably like 18, 19. I don't remember how old she was supposed to be on the first. I'll have to look it up later. But you see how close they are and how much they love each other. So the loss of T'Challa, you see how rough that wrecked her.
Yes.
And she buries herself in her work. She just buries herself in the lab. She honestly, I think they just straight up say it, but you get the feeling that she just kind of stays there and she doesn't come out.
Yeah.
But finally, after all of the death and destruction caused by Namor, she has that motivation. Unfortunately, it's to kill, but she has that motivation to finally, at least if you're going to bury yourself in there, you might as well put it to good use.
Right.
That's like how, no joke, one of the main reasons I started streaming was because I spent all my time in 2020 just in my bedroom. I had nothing to do. I couldn't go see my friends. I couldn't go out. I couldn't do anything.
Right.
But I learned, wait a minute, I can stream on Twitch through my PlayStation. So I started doing that. I was if I'm going to be in here this whole time, I might as well do something good with it.
Exactly.
And it's great. It's worked out really, really well. And I've seen a lot of people do that, actually. I've seen a lot of people who have some people I know personally who have actually started to climb out of their own little holes. And it's just really rewarding to see people you care about, even if it's like a fictional character like Shuri or Thor or Peter Parker or whoever. It's rewarding to see good people just have good happen to them, I guess is the best way to put it. And Wakanda Forever is it's very rewarding in that regard. It's very rewarding to see all these characters, after all the hell they've been through, find a way out. Yeah, the things with Talokan are going to be tense for a very long time.
Yes.
But like, in a way, like, everyone is still in a better place from when they started the film. And like, you see, like, Ramonda is almost a reluctant queen of Wakanda. Who even knows what M'Baku was up to? Well, we know we knew T'Challa, he and T'Challa started to become very close before he died.
Right.
And then, I didn't even mention, Nakia just straight up wasn't there. She ran away.
Yeah.
Because granted, also keeping their son away from the throne. She didn't want him to have the pressure of the throne, which I'm like, good mother.
Right, both her and T'Challa.
Yeah, T'Challa was very much like, yeah, no, don't put that pressure on him, and I love that. It's just great seeing these characters like go through hell but still find their way out of it. And yeah, things are better for the most part. You still have to deal with the Talokans, but you're still in a better place than you were at the beginning. So it's still it's just I just really like this movie. I could talk about this movie for hours, but I know we don't have all the time in the world. So
yeah.
But yeah, the soundtrack, as I was starting off with, it enhances the film. The songs that show up in the movie actually enhance the film quite a bit, and I believe most of them were made for the movie. I don't think a single one of these was already existed. No Woman, No Cry is an exception. That's a cover.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful cover, and it actually made me cry when I first heard the song all the way through. I was like, because all I could think of was just the trailer and just the scenes of the characters just screaming and grieving the loss of T'Challa. And I was like, oh man, this movie's gonna hurt.
But didn't you listen to the song? It said no cry.
Yeah, it does. Well, yeah, but it's a very honestly, it's one of the rare examples of the cover might be better than the original. So and I don't say that very often with most songs. Like, I really don't. But I think while the original by, I believe, give me 1 second, by Bob Marley. It was Bob Marley.
Yes, it was Bob Marley.
My brain almost went to I don't remember who else I was thinking of. But yeah, Bob Marley did the original song. The original song is a classic.
Yeah.
But I think the redo, the cover by Thames, I believe, is the singer's name. She's wonderful.
Yes.
It was a fantastic cover, and it adds so much weight to this song. It's so good. The music in these films. It's what they did with this soundtrack is what I want to see more Marvel movies do. Because music is always a good way to enhance a scene, even if it's not just the score, but just like actual music, just music you hear on the radio, basically. Again, Guardians of the Galaxy did that great. Shang-Chi kind of did it a little bit.
Yeah, Miss Marvel and Moon Knight definitely had like some really good scores and music in there.
Yes, definitely. It's Miss Marvel especially. I actually really loved Miss Marvel's choice of music, but the score from Moon Knight was amazing.
Yes.
So it's one of the few times like the character's theme song actually stuck with me. Like Marvel doesn't do that a whole lot, unfortunately. Like, of course, the Avengers theme.
Right.
Captain America technically has a theme from the first Avenger, but they don't use it enough, in my opinion.
Right.
Spider-Man actually got to keep his theme song throughout all three films, so that's nice.
Yes.
T'Challa had T'Challa had a theme song. It was I think in every movie he showed up when not counting Civil War. Every movie T'Challa showed up and he had a theme song. He had his theme song.
Yeah, and the Dora Milaje have their own theme too.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I like these Marvel soundtracks that they've been doing. Like Black Panther has 2 of them now. Shang-Chi had one that I didn't know about until way after the movie came out. But it was really good. Not as good as the Black Panther ones, but it was still very good. And then Spider-Verse also has a soundtrack. I know that's not the MCU, but still.
Right, I gotcha.
But yeah, I'm like, I want more of that. 2 more of that, Marvel. I'll buy all of them.
Right. So, but going back to Wakanda Forever, was there any other aspects that really caught your attention?
I think I didn't talk about Nakia enough. The fact that she ran away. She wasn't even there at the funeral. And in Ramonda, when she goes to see her in Haiti, she was like, "Yeah, we didn't see you at the funeral. What's going on?" And she was like, going to the funeral would have basically I believe she basically just says that going to the funeral would have just sealed the fact that he's gone.
Yeah.
Like it would have set in like, that's it, he's gone. Which kind of ties into how I felt about the first 10 minutes. Because I rewatched the first movie before we saw Wakanda Forever. And yeah, the first movie, like the whole time, I'm just like, there he is. There's T'Challa. He's right there. But then sequel comes around and he's gone.
Yeah.
And the first 10 minutes, it really sets in like, yeah, we're not kidding. He's gone now. But it's a really, the movie tackles grief in a way I haven't seen. I never expected a mainstream blockbuster movie like this to do.
Definitely.
And I think more Marvel films could learn from Ryan Coogler in his writing and his directing and how he gets the best out of his performances. Yes. The MCU has very talented actors. Some of the best actors in the world are playing these characters, and it's cool. And I'm not saying I want Ryan Coogler to do every single Marvel movie. Good Lord, do not put that man to that stress.
Yeah.
He suffered enough with... He probably went through hell just doing Wakanda Forever. So
probably, yeah.
But I love how even in scenes where there's no dialogue, where there's just body language and facial expressions, he gets the best out of everybody. Like when Shuri, at the very end, when Shuri does the ritual where she burns her funeral clothes,
right?
And she sees T'Challa, finally, and she just cries. She just lets it all out finally because she's been holding it in for a very long time.
Yeah,
and she's finally able to just let it out. It was just so beautiful. Not a single line of dialogue, not a single quip, not a single joke. You know, I know it's a big complaint about Marvel, but Wakanda Forever, it uses comedy where it's necessary.
Yes.
But most of the movie is played straight. There's not a lot. It's not as funny as the first one. Actually, no. It's funnier than the first one, but that's only because the lines and delivery were fun. Not because there were more jokes.
Right.
but yeah, just that final. And I think even during her little when she sees the visions of T'Challa, I think they used some unused footage from the first film too.
I think so too. Yeah.
To get because there were some clips that I was like, I don't remember that, but it was still just nice to see it, and just she finally gets that closure that she needed because she wasn't able to let go, and it was nice. It was really nice, and I think, I appreciate that the movie also kind of made her work to get that closure though, because I remember when she went to the ancestral plane. So immediately, obvious. I think everybody thought it's either going to be Ramonda, possibly T'Chaka. That would be interesting because we don't know what her relationship with T'Chaka was like, so that would have been interesting.
Right.
But we also knew they're not going to have T'Challa show up, right? Because they straight up said we're not going to do. They're not going to do a deep fake for T'Challa.
Right.
So it's who the hell else could it be? And it was Killmonger.
Of all people.
And I remember my mom was excited because she loves Michael B. Jordan.
Right.
But I was I uttered under my breath, oh, fuck no. I was that was the worst possible person she could have seen.
Yes.
And it was just the way that the movie shows you, this is not a good thing. Just they really make sure no, this is not the person she needs to see right now.
Right.
But unfortunately, in her mindset, this is who the ancestors thought she needed. I think that's how it was. Because we don't really know how the ancestral plane works. So we don't know why he's the one who showed up, other than she was angry and vengeful the same way he was. So
I think it's also who you're. I'm sorry. I don't mean to direct. I think it's also who they were searching for. Because when T'Challa went under, he was searching for his father to have some closure. When Killmonger went under, he was searching for his father's things, and then met his father to let him know that he is carrying on what his father set out. And when Shuri went under, she was searching for revenge, and Killmonger responded because that's what he knows. That was his whole
shtick.
Yeah.
And I think you put it in better. I think you put it in the better words than I could have. It's just that's what she, in her brain, that's what she wanted. She wanted, and she kept denying it.
Mm-hmm.
She kept denying it. No, that's not what I want to do. But I love that during the fight with the fight with Namor, you cut back to that conversation they had, and she basically was just I want him dead. I want to kill this man. So it's that's why you ended up getting Killmonger, because T'Challa would have been no, do not, don't engage this dude. He will mess you up. Speaking of which, I just realized, okay, so there is admittedly this is both a criticism and a praise at the same time. It's weird, but it's a weird way to put it.
Okay.
You can absolutely replace a lot of the scenes with Shuri and put T'Challa there, and the movie would have worked perfectly fine. A lot of scenes, you absolutely could have had T'Challa in that role. Maybe not where she goes to Talokan and talks with Namor. Honestly, I absolutely necessarily believe that has to be Shuri talking to him underwater.
And Namor trying to charm her, be hey.
Yeah. Okay, random tangent. I saw so many people shipping Namor and Shuri, and I'm y'all know he killed her mother, right?
Well, but this is before he killed his mother.
I know,
he killed her mother.
Even after that, there's still there were people who were still well, even then, it's no, he murdered her mother. I'm sorry, but as close as those two were, no.
Yeah, shippers are weird. Don't worry about them.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I actually have a TikTok video in my drafts talking about the movie later that I'm uploading. There's a joke in there about that, so
okay.
You'll see it in a few days.
I can't wait to see it.
But yeah, I thought about it. And I was there are a lot of scenes where you absolutely could have had that be T'Challa. Even seeing Ramonda drown, that could have been both of them. You could have had both of them in that scene, and you can T'Challa's rage that we haven't really seen since Civil War come back to the forefront. Because he's very much that character that's like, look, I'm a very cool, calm, and collected person, very kind, very humble, very respectful. The minute you come for my family, it's no holds barred.
Right, yeah.
And you see how he was with Bucky. He didn't even know, Bucky didn't even kill T'Chaka, but he was like dead set, like,
yeah,
okay, hey, this is, everyone says he did it. All right, he's dead now. I'm going to kill this man. And but when he but I love, again, end of Civil War, he goes like, I am done letting vengeance consume me. He doesn't want to be that man anymore. But Namor killing his mother, that you have an interesting story of just like that rage coming back, that vengeance coming back. Right. And at the end, he has to stop himself from like, imagine him and Shuri having to team up as Black Panthers to take on Namor, because it's like T'Challa could even be like, no, I can't take him by myself. I need help.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, I could see that, and then like maybe Shuri goes under, and she could still see Killmonger, and she could, when she wakes up, of course, like I don't think, does she tell anybody she saw Killmonger? I don't remember.
I think she told Nakia.
Okay, yeah, I was like, I don't remember if she told anybody, but I could imagine. What I would love to have seen is like in the headcanon or the alternate universe where Chadwick Boseman is still alive. I would have loved to have seen, she denies everything to everybody else. T'Challa pulls her aside and goes, "You saw it in T'Chaka, didn't you?" Like, just like he knows already. Like, you saw it in T'Chaka, didn't you? He doesn't call him Killmonger. He doesn't call him Eric. He calls him by his Wakandan name. Just, you saw it in T'Chaka, didn't you? And then she just looks down. And he's like, I get it. And trust me, I want Namor dead too. But this is not what Mother would have wanted. This is not what Father would have wanted. We need to try to keep our cool heads here. But like, you see her go like, yeah, no, fuck that. I'm gonna kill him. Like, so like you have an interesting dynamic throughout the fight between them. T'Challa is clearly like, he just needs to beat him down, beat him into submission, and be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Whereas Shuri is much more like, I'm just gonna take his head. But T'Challa could try to reach out to her, it doesn't work. But then finally Ramonda comes up, she sees a vision of Ramonda, and that's what gets Shuri to stop.
Right, because that's ultimately
like, I think you could.
That's what ultimately happened in the film.
Yeah, I feel like you could still get to that end point and still have T'Challa in there. I don't know what the original script was. I'm not Ryan Coogler, so I don't know.
We don't know.
But I while I think that I can praise the movie for that, like fitting Shuri in these moments by herself, I also can kind of, there were points where I was like, you could totally have that be T'Challa and it would have been perfectly fine. I
disagree a bit, but yes, please continue.
Yeah, like and I totally respect that. It's such a minor thing because it doesn't impede my love for the film. It doesn't at all.
Right.
But yeah, I thought about it a couple times. I was like, I feel like that could have been T'Challa. That could have been T'Challa. That could have been T'Challa. But then I still thought about it, and I was like, but it works perfectly fine as Shuri.
Yeah.
Works perfectly fine with her in that spot. Would have loved the alternate universe where we didn't have this tragedy of losing Chadwick, and we could have had a team up movie with Shuri and T'Challa taking on Namor, but and just see like the different just the different types of Black Panther that they are would have been really interesting. But unfortunately, we live in a very cool world, and we're never going to see that. But yeah, like like I said, that is the smallest criticism I have, and it doesn't impede my love for the film. But it honestly, though, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, I feel like that the number of scenes I could see T'Challa in instead is waning a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, I'm gonna see the movie again next week, so yeah, like I feel like I'll get back to you then. Like if that thought is still there or not.
Yeah, please do. And thanks so much for sharing all of that, Brett. But and is there anything else that you would like to add? Because there's just some things that I would like to. There's just some things I like to go over as well with what you mentioned.
Well, sorry, hold on. Sorry, one of my friends commented on one of my one of my friends commented on one of my videos, and it started playing on my phone. I was like, "Wait, no, please stop." Sorry about that. Okay. Go see the movie, everybody. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
like, I don't have much else to add. Trust me, if I wanted to keep talking about it, I would, and we'd be here till Saturday. So,
right.
like, I don't want to do that to y'all, and I want to give Garrett a chance. But I also would like to hear what he has to say. So, Garrett.
Thank you very much. And please, if you have like something to add, just feel free to let me know. But yes, to go off with what you said, with adding T'Challa to the story, like you said, it could have been a bit more waning. I think it would have taken away like Shuri's journey in this story because, like, you know, like with the original script and all that. But I do want to go over Shuri's story. Like, I did make the comment that I did not see enough of Shuri training as a fighter, but who knows? She is. We don't see that, but we could take into context that she's part of the Wakandan royal family. She's also really close to the Dora Milaje. She could have had some kind of training, she's just like what you said before. She focuses more on her intellect rather than her physical fighting attributes. And I think with this synthesized her heart-shaped herb that she has, I think it might be slightly stronger than the one previous before, because or it might just been like when she punched that dummy, it was just like a more angry punch. I'm not sure, but in any case, it was good to start off this film. Like, we see Shuri just rambling around, trying to create a miracle to save her brother. And think about this. This is Wakanda, which has like the most advanced technology that we've seen on this planet within this world. And T'Challa is still suffering an illness that we don't know what it is specifically, but they still can't find a cure for it. It's basically like what Superman facing with the death of his father. He has all this wondrous abilities, but he couldn't save his father who died of a heart attack. It's like you have all this ability, but you couldn't save the one you love the most. And that is what eats Shuri throughout the entirety of the film. That she has all of these abilities, and she tried so hard to come up with a cure that she couldn't. And everyone is like pleading with her to like try to spend time with her brother before time has passed, but she doesn't want to focus on that. She doesn't want to think that her brother is going to go away, and albeit all too late, she loses her chance. And from the time skipped, we see the opening line is that she prays to Bast, her goddess, and then in the time skip after that, she lost all faith in Bast, in the supernatural. She only believes in what she can create and what she can control. Yeah. Even when Namor gives her the bracelet that was given to him by his mother, this was a gift of love that had some vibranium in it. And with that gift of love that was given to her, she was able to create another chance for the heart-shaped herb to become the Black Panther and defend her people. And when she goes under and she sees Killmonger, and this is the thing, Shuri and Killmonger, I believe he had it right where T'Challa was too noble to take revenge. Where Shuri, she is not as noble as T'Challa.
She's not her. I think she even straight up says the line. I'm not my brother.
She's not her brother. She is like, and that's it. But there's advantages to that. She's a bit more flexible than her brother, but that also makes her more amenable to the temptation of revenge and all that. And when she comes out of it, she is angry at Nakia for trying her to make her believe that she could see her brother again, and that, you know, like all this otherworldly things. She's angry at, like, you know, Boss for taking away her brother. She's angry at like this otherworldly faith and wonder because she doesn't really understand it. And that's why after when her mother comes to her in a vision to tell her that she is better than taking revenge, she does that. But at the end of the film, from where we started the film with Shuri to where she was so frantic to finding a cure that she couldn't even stop to think, to stop and take a breather. So at the end of the film, she is on the beach. She's taking a breath. She is finally relaxing. She doesn't have to worry about stopping a war with another country or anything else. She just stops and breathes and remembers her brother, and she's allowed to grieve and pass and all that good stuff. I think that is really good storytelling to where how a character started to where they ended.
It's like, again, like this movie, like I should have I didn't even mention the prayer to Bast at the beginning. I completely forgot about that. And I talked about that with my girlfriend because she asked about it because she wasn't as clued in on the Black Panther lore. Right. We had to be reminded of it when we watched the first movie. But my mindset was that I think because she says like, I will never question you again. That was like the last line of the prayer was like, I will never question you again.
Right.
If you can help me save my brother. My mindset was that I think that I could be completely wrong. I don't know. But my mindset was that she believed in Boss the same way her family did, but not as strongly because she is a scientist. Like, through and through, she's a scientist.
Yeah.
But she believed in it, but she was also very much like science, though.
Right.
And in this moment of desperation, she has this fear, like, I'm about to lose the person I love the most. What do I do? Like, and I've seen people, I'm coming from someone who was raised Catholic, I don't really follow that faith anymore, but like coming from someone who's raised Catholic, I've seen people who don't believe in anything, who don't believe in God, don't believe in anything. When they're in that do or die situation, they'll pray for some kind of miracle. Doesn't matter what God they're praying to, they will pray for it.
Right.
And it's seeing Shuri do that. It's just that desperation of please let this work. And when it doesn't, you totally can understand why she lost her faith that night because she prayed to her God and it didn't work.
Right.
So,
and it also comes back to the first film because she was very much like, into science, not magic. But when she sees her brother like comatose, buried in the snow, and then with the help of the heart-shaped herb and the ritual and all that, her brother was able to come back from that. I feel like that's the reason why she believes that the heart-shaped herb would help him this time. And
we don't know if it would have.
Yeah,
we'll never know. And I think that's what really hurts is just that feeling of just a year later she finds this miracle to make a new miracle, but like it's a different strain of vibranium. But she finds a new way to make. She finds a way to make a new heart-shaped herb, and it gives her the results she needed.
Yeah. But
it's also a case of like, who even knows if the heart-shaped herb would have helped him?
Right, exactly.
Like, we don't know. And that's the thing about science is that you'll never really know because she'll never know because she never got a chance to try.
Right.
Sure, time travel's a thing, but it doesn't work like that in the MCU. So
yeah, But yeah, it was really great to see Shuri's journey moving forward. And the way it ended, I'm glad she decided that she didn't want to like become Queen of Wakanda because that's not who she really was.
Yeah, she never wanted the throne.
She never wanted the throne. She never wanted to be a ruler. She wanted to invent. She wanted to discover new things. And I feel and you're right, and I did love how M'Baku exited the ship, and it was like, it's challenge day. And he
comes out. He's just like, the Black Panther will not be joining us today.
Right, and I hope he does become king, because that would be like an interesting dynamic. And I think it also brings to the point that the Black Panther doesn't always have to be the ruler of Wakanda. It is a mantle like any other mantle that we see on a superhero.
Yeah, and I think like M'Baku, I would hope that Shuri told him, hey, if there's anyone I trust to be the ruler of Wakanda, it's you. Like, right. I'm pretty sure she did. The only people I could see her trusting in that role would be him or Okoye. So,
right.
Yeah, I could totally see him being given the blessing, like, hey, I'm not going to be princess. I don't want to be the princess anymore. Like,
right.
or she'll always be the princess, but she doesn't want to be the ruler.
Right.
And giving that blessing to someone she trusts, someone her brother, her family trusted as much as M'Baku, really shows, like, if anybody's good for the role, it's him. Because we see he's a good ruler. He took care of the Jabari very well.
Yes.
So,
but it also shows. But yes, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that this relationship starts off within the first film, where M'Baku scolds.
She scoffs at tradition.
Yeah, for scoffs at tradition, because she scoffs at this tradition because she doesn't believe in science, but she doesn't understand that these are customs of her people. These are traditions of her people that have been passed down from generation to generation, and he scoffs them. So he scolds her for that. But then during this film, she brings up like this child, what he described her, but then he realizes you have lost too much to be considered a child, and he gives her wisdom. Like, she wants revenge, but he realizes. And my favorite line that he says is that just because we live in the mountains doesn't mean we don't have access to books. He recognizes the true name of Namor is that he is a god to his people, and that if they were to take their revenge on him, it would lead to an eternal war between Wakanda and Tolucan, which is not good for anybody. And I'm glad that they brought up the point that it's not just like, the big players are fighting each other. The people who they serve are also going to suffer, and that is a factor that they take into account. And I'm glad it's not just, and for Shuri, it wasn't just her mother that brought her that. She is reminded of the people who showed her kindness in Tolucan, and that they are people. They're not just like, they're not just like casualties to be made later. They are people who live lives, and she doesn't want to make more blood in this war. And she sees that with the wisdom that M'Baku instilled in her. So I do think like it does show a lot his character that he will be like a good ruler. Like, he does lead the Jabari tribe, but also realizes that there is honor. He's very honorable. He is very honorable in that fact.
Mm-hmm. There's a moment in the first movie that always sticks out to me much more now. It's the duel between T'Challa and M'Baku on the waterfall.
Yeah.
And he has him in the triangle choke. And T'Challa says, like, don't make me kill you. Because he's like, there's only two ways the fight ends. Either someone dies or they submit. But you see T'Challa, he tells him, he's like, no, seriously, like, please don't make me do this. Your people need you. Mm-hmm. Like, you fought well, but like, today's not your day. Like, but the Jabari, your people need you, dude.
Yes.
And then you see that light bulb go off in M'Baku's head, and he taps. He finally submits because he finally realizes, like, yeah, like, this isn't my time. But at the same time, I have my people I need to take care of.
Right.
So, and you see, like I said, you see that he is a good ruler. When it comes to the Jabari, he doesn't rule with an iron fist. He clearly cares for his people.
Yes.
Even though I do wish we got to see a little bit more of the Jabari in this one. We mostly focus on M'Baku, but that's fine.
Right.
He's great. He's great. I'm not complaining about seeing more Winston Duke. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, like even T'Challa saw that he's a good ruler. Like he respected him. Like, he didn't see eye to eye with him on everything, but he always respected him.
Yes.
And I would assume that respect went around to the rest of the royal family as well, not to Ramonda. Again, Ramonda even had him on the council at the beginning of the film.
Right.
So, like, that really goes to show, like, okay, so that respect definitely carries over to her, and potentially to Shuri as well. I think she eventually, off-screen, probably grew to respect him more.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, like, you really get this feel. Like, I laughed when I saw him come out, but I was also like, no, that's perfect. Like, again, the only other person would have been Okoye, but I think because she was cast out, by Ramonda, she has too much respect for her queen, and she would be like, even if Shuri was like, I'm offering you the position to be the ruler of Wakanda, I don't think she would have taken it. She'd be like, I was cast out. I'm sorry. I have too much respect for y'all. And I could write an essay on that scene with Angela Bassett and Denai Gur. Oh my God. In terms of pure acting. I said this on Facebook. I think you saw it, where I said the Black Panther films have the best acting in any MCU film out of all the entirety of the MCU. The best acting. That scene where Ramonda casts her out, kicks her out, she fires her from being the general of the Dora Milaje. It hurt. And at first, you're kind of like, what the hell, Ramonda? Like, she can still get her back. She can get Shuri back. It's fine. And we also know, like, Shuri wasn't kidnapped. She went willingly, but okay.
Right.
But even then, when she mentions, like, hey, weren't you the one who sat by while T'Challa was possibly dead and just let Killmonger rule Wakanda for a bit?
Right.
Like, didn't you do that? And everyone in the theater went like, oh shit, she's right.
Yeah,
like everyone had that little like, oh crap, she's right. Like she did do that. And you can even see Okoye, she couldn't even defend herself there. She was like, nope, she's got a point. Like,
yeah, not just Okoye, but also the other council members.
Yeah, they were all like, and some of them called her out on it too. They were like, yeah, like, not cool, dude. We didn't forget that. Like, because it's like, it's the double-edged sword of being so loyal to your country, so loyal to your kingdom. Like, you have to stay loyal to whoever's on the throne, no matter who it is, even if you don't like them or don't agree with them. And it's just, and you even see that struggle with her, in the first film. You see that struggle. She's like, look, I don't want to work with this guy, but I have to. Yes. Like, it's my job. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. Even though she totally could have.
Right.
She absolutely could have if she wanted to. But this is just, it's instilled in her brain, like, no, like, this is who I am. I am loyal to the throne. And just, oh man, like, oh, that scene was so good.
It was. Just, and
I love that she didn't argue when they called her out on it.
Right.
All she did was salute, put her spear in the ground, turned her back, walked away.
Right.
Because she realized just they're not wrong. Yeah. Everything they said about me was correct.
Right. So, and it could be, and to see from Ramona's side, like, you know, Okoye could, like, you know, he, like you said, she could rescue Shuri again, but to see it from Ramona's perspective is that this is her last remaining family member who she treasured most of all, and to have like the news that she was taken with God knows what happened to her. It's like, I trusted you with my child, and you failed,
and you lost her,
and you lost her. I understand that and it's like she understands, but still, I charged you with something that was so precious to me, and you lost her. So there has to be consequences for this action. And to see it from like, it reminds me of the first film with what happened with T'Challa capturing Claw, but then Killmonger came in and got him out. It's the same thing what happened with Wakabi, because he trusted T'Challa to taking Claw by any means, but because of that, it feels like that T'Challa put like the world's perspective on him more than Wakabi's feelings. And in this situation, so it's like there's consequences for that. Even things happen beyond your comprehension, beyond your control. There are consequences for these things. So then that, and to see like Okoye's story, to go further, that Shuri gave Okoye, tried this on, and Okoye was hesitant against it because she held on to that role of the loyal general. Then once that was gone, she was able to take on this Midnight Angel armor and be able to expand herself, which gave her a greater challenge against Atuna, I believe that's what his name was in the film. And
I think just seeing her, it felt like she had a new purpose now.
Yes.
Like she can still serve her kingdom, her country, just not the way she was before.
Exactly.
And you can also get the feeling that the Midnight Angels are going to be kind of like a tier above the Dora Milaje at this point. I feel like that's what they're implying. I could be wrong.
Right.
But I think that's what Shuri had in mind, was like, this is going to be like a tier above Dora Milaje. Not totally above them, but they're more like the last resort kind of thing. Like we got the Dora Milaje, we have the Black Panther, get these two in there also, guarantees the victory at that point. And it kind of did. They didn't win the war, but still.
Right. And
they did not win. They did not win that battle at the end. Let's get that straight.
Right. And how cool was it that Ao is now like the general, and she has a girlfriend who was very featured in this one. That was so cool.
That was cute. Cute. I liked that. I would have again. Marvel. I appreciate the LGBT representation. This is still kind of breadcrumbs, but you're getting there. You're doing better.
Right.
You are doing better.
Right. But and just to wrap things up, I want to go over about Everett's Ross story. That yes, it was a sense of obligation that Wakanda saved his life, but I think it's also that he does feel like a genuine friendship with the people who he helped with, because and they feel in response, because after he got captured, they could have just cut him off, but Okoye went out and saved him from imprisonment, and I think this whole storyline, and I was really surprised that Val showed up and was Everett Ross's ex-wife. I think they had a fun chemistry.
I thought it was funny.
I think they have a fun chemistry. But I feel like this whole storyline, it does set up with the other theme that was going on with this film. That being with other nations like France and United States who are looking for that resource to make it their own, and that it's exploiting not only Wakanda but also Talokan, and how Riri Williams' invention was taken from her to be used for their own purposes, which does happen a lot in the real world, which Killmonger brought up, and that was his point, that that talented people of color are being exploited by these greater governments, and I think that's what the storyline is setting up in future films with the Thunderbolts as well, which I'm still excited to see. That Val is mainly interested in the U.S. government interests, and that she is planning to use her Thunderbolts to, get the vibranium, but also exploit and fight against Wakanda, which will be very interesting to see.
Something colonization, basically.
Yeah.
I see, they still call him. It's funny because they still call him colonizer, but I'm like, and at first I was like, okay, why do y'all still call him that? Like, he's on your side now, you know this,
right?
But then I'm like, wait, he's CIA. Wait a minute, that makes perfect sense that they're still calling him that, because I think they also do it as kind of a joke. Yeah, like it's friendly rapport with them at this point,
right?
But I think it is a case of just like there's probably a back in the back of their minds. They're probably like, just remember, while we're cool with him, that could go away at any day. Like, he could be cool with us one day, but then the next minute somebody could tell him, "Hey, this is your assignment. You're going to do this, this, and this to Wakanda." And he wouldn't do it. I think this movie proved he would not turn against them.
Right.
Because he knows how powerful they are, but he also trusts them with his life.
Right. But and he also knew
he doesn't. Right. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry.
And he also knows the consequences for what he did in helping them learn about Riri Williams, but also helping them relay messages about Shuri's disappearance and everything else that was going on, and keeping the United States government off Wakanda's backs. He did pull a lot of stakes, which I do think still works within the story. And Riri Williams, I will say, I did like her more in this film than America Chavez in Multiverse of Madness, because Riri Williams' character in this film felt more like America Chavez's character in the comics that I didn't get in the film. But because here's the thing, America Chavez is very headstrong, but she's also very face forward, and in the film, it's more like she is a more sanitized version of that, if you get what I mean.
She feels like Tails in the equivalent to Sonic, if that makes any sense.
Right. She does a lot of exposition. She does a lot of exposition.
To randomly tie this into the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie, Tails was very much like that. He's very intelligent, very headstrong, but he's also never been in a fight before. He's very much just I'm just here to tell you to do this.
Right.
But when he gets into an actual confrontation, he gets scared. but he inevitably finds that bravery and is able to do it.
Yes, I did like how she came to the climax and was able to find her own power, and I like her and Strange's relationship, like at the last third, and how it developed, and seeing how her character moves forward in the MCU. And Riri Williams, I like how she is also very headstrong, but also has like a tie to her father and where she grew up, and like she also feels like she can help out, and that her Ironheart outfit looks pretty cool, so I'm excited to see that. But everything with this film, it does make me more excited with what the MCU has in store moving forward. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. I think like I said, it's not all doom and gloom in the MCU. We have a lot of there's a lot more good in these projects that we've gotten than bad.
Yes.
Like, if I think the worst project I think we got was What If, and that wasn't even that bad. It was just kind of underwhelming at the end. Mm-hmm. But still a really cool spectacle, but it was just like,
right.
It was all right.
Yeah.
But if that was the worst thing, we're in good hands. We're fine.
Right, but that's the thing. But that's the beauty about this different varieties. Everyone has like their own thing. Like some people can love What If, some people can hate. Some people can. Well, a lot of people hate She-Hulk, but some people really do like She-Hulk. It's like everybody has.
I love She-Hulk.
Right, I know you do.
I love She-Hulk.
Right, I know you do. But you get what I'm saying. Everybody has like their own thing that they really enjoy, and that's what I like about the MCU is that there is a lot of variety that people can enjoy. You don't have to like everything. I did like Werewolf by Night as like Universal Monsters homage, but I'm not in love with it.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it's a very good. I think, honestly, I want more stuff like Werewolf by Night. Maybe that's just me being a horror fan, but I would like to see more Marvel horror stuff. But I also want to see more just like very inconsequential little shorts like that.
Yes, exactly.
I loved that. I was like, okay, this I like. The shows, while most of them are pretty solid, admittedly, it feels. I agreed with Zach earlier. I was like, a lot of it feels like required reading now.
Right, exactly.
Like She-Hulk is going to pour into Daredevil's new show,
and
when that comes out,
and the Hulk movie,
and the next, if whatever we end up doing with Hulk and Scar. But then we also have potentially, if there was a rumor that went around. At this point, I believe I will have to kind of believe any Spider-Man rumor on the internet because look at how No Way Home turned out. Yeah. But it's rumored that Daredevil's show is going to trickle into Spider-Man's next movie. So it's like, holy shit! Like it's like, okay, so now a lot of this is going to feel like required reading. And I'm like, as cool as that is, especially with Daredevil, because I love the Netflix show. It's one of my favorite things Marvel's ever made. Right, and I want to see at least a loose continuation of that, like loosest continuation possible. Still, like at the very least, just be like, the Netflix show still happened. We're moving on from that now. We're gonna do something else. But as long as that stuff is still canon in my eyes, I'm good. But admittedly, I feel like some people would get lost with Spider-Man if Daredevil shows up. Yeah, they'll remember Matt Murdock from No Way Home and possibly from the Netflix show if they watched that. But how many of them will sit through She-Hulk and then Daredevil Born Again?
Right.
Like, it's like, that's a lot of stuff you're going to have to keep up with. Granted, I started to look at this more like this is just like what reading comics is like. There's just so much to keep up with.
That is a very true statement in and of itself. But I think how Marvel, like what you said, is that they have these self-contained stories that would have like little trinkets of like integration, but doesn't feel like required reading. Like when all these characters are teaming up, we don't have to know their whole life story in the film. They could just like have brief synopsis. Like in the new Marvels movie with how Ms. Marvel ended, it does feel like a self-contained story, but then it ended with like a little trinket of like what's to come in that film. We don't have to know everything about what Ms. Marvel went through in her series to enjoy that film.
Yeah. And I think that, no joke, that's one of the reasons why Moon Knight's one of my favorite MCU shows. It's barely references anything else.
Right.
Other than, I think they mentioned Thanos once, and then they also mentioned the ancestral plane.
The ancestral plane.
That's it, though.
Right, that's it.
Other than that, there's no other references. And it took me a while to realize, like, this doesn't really tie into anything else. This is just its own thing. Oh my God, I love this. Like, and I was like, I want more stuff like that from Marvel. Like Shang-Chi, for the most part, does kind of feel like its own thing. Yes, there's references to Iron Man 3. Yes, Wong shows up at the end. But for the most part, it's very much its own thing. It's very much its own standalone movie to introduce this new character, new characters, and new world that we haven't seen before.
Right.
And I like that.
And let's think about, and I just thought about this recently. The two best MCU films besides Spider-Man that I've seen out of Phase 4 for me is Wakanda Forever and Shang-Chi. And here's the thing. There are both like very much self-contained stories about a community that is a diverse community that we don't get a lot of recognition about. And I feel like Marvel is recognizing that and will, like, you know, invest more in that, where it shows more of a perspective of other communities, of other heroes having like their own story, rather than say like Multiverse of Madness, where it connects with WandaVision and it connects to Doctor Strange's journey and everything else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think that's why I love like Spider-Man. Yes, it's very knee deep in MCU stuff, but the first all three movies, I felt like that. They very much like these movies could only work as part of the MCU, if that makes sense. But that's one of the reasons why No Way Home works so well, is because it ties into so much stuff, like with Doctor Strange and the multiverse and all that. But it focuses on Peter.
Yes.
Peter is the main focus of the entire movie. Yeah, there's a lot of fan service in it, but Peter is the main focus.
Yes.
It's like how Wakanda Forever, Wakanda, and Talokan are the main focuses. Yes. Shang-Chi and his family are the main focuses. And I'm like, this is what Marvel needs to do, is with these movies and shows. But like, you can have them tie into other stuff. That's perfectly fine. I'm not complaining about that.
Right.
But if you're going to do that, you still need to put the main focus on your main protagonist or their group of character, or that group of characters that you want to follow. She-Hulk, despite, I know a lot of people have issues with that show, but the main thing I've always appreciated about it, going back and thinking about it more and more, it always focused on Jen. Jen was always the focus. Now, yeah, the show's not perfect. Like, admittedly, the first couple episodes, they're kind of meandering to get through. As much as I like the show, they're very like, okay, come on, let's get to the point. Come on now. Right. And a lot of the pacing of the show is off for the first half of it. Second half of the show is great. I think the second half is fantastic. I wish the whole show was like the second half, but yeah, it focuses mostly on Jen. And I saw so many people complain, like, well, what's the next story they're building to? I'm like, this one isn't going to do that. It's just Jen living her life. It's a sitcom. It's just Jen living her life. Right. That's it. That's all it is. And that's all it needs to be. That's what makes She-Hulk so fun.
Yes, but to prove your point about, like, you know, focusing on the main character, losing focus on that main character, I just want to bring up with my least favorite MCU show, Hawkeye. And when I say least, I don't hate it. I still like it. But it does...
it's not your favorite.
It's not my favorite. I still like it. It's not my favorite. But here's the reason why. Because, like, it does lose focus of its main character. We're focusing on Kate throughout, like, a good portion of it. But then it also splits off to Clint and him coming to terms with losing Natasha, trying to spend time with his family, but also trying to keep his dark past in the past, while also bringing Echo. And then we have Kingpin. It's just, like,
the show does kind of spiral at the end. The show spirals out of control in the end. It's still a solid ending. It's a cute show. It's a very cute show. Like, I do remember, like, near the end, I was like, okay, there's so much stuff happening now. What is going on? Right. Like, it was perfect when it was focusing on just Kate and Clint and their individual stories and how they tie in with each other. Yeah. But then it goes like, also, here's Echo. Also, here's Yelena. Also, here's some more Thunderbolt stuff. Also, Kingpin's here. Yeah. And it was like, okay, wait a minute. Like, that's because the show was so short. It's like, what, 6 episodes? Yeah. So, yeah, it was too much. If it was 13 episodes, yeah, it probably would have worked out a lot better. But Marvel has this. I think they learned their lesson, because Daredevil's apparently going to be 18 episodes, which that's a lot, but
Yeah.
I'd much rather have that than 6 episodes and then it's over.
Right.
Like She-Hulk even did better with that because it's 9 episodes long. And it felt like, even though I feel like a lot of the episodes ran too short, they still, when it got to the ending, it was like, okay, this makes sense. This is fine. This works. But with Hawkeye, I was like, I blinked. What happened? So, yeah. And as much as I like Hawkeye, I can agree with you on that. Like, the show does spiral out of control near the end.
Right. And it's to put the end cap on it, it's like with the 6-episode format, it first started with some of the couple episodes due to COVID and production strengths and all that stuff. And the 6 format can work in some situations where it focuses more on character development, but then in other times it does lean more into some more filler stuff. So that's what I'm hoping for. In the future, Marvel's starting to realize, okay, let's focus more on stories that focuses on the character rather than integrate with like other cross-media continuity and have like our characters more time to develop their stories.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's basically the best way to do it, is just like, I want to see these characters. I want to see these shows be much more like flesh the characters out more, which they're good at that. Even like the 6-episode shows, they were able to flesh the characters out for the most part, not as well as I would have hoped. Right. But yeah, like flesh the characters out more, give certain scenes just more time to breathe. Yes. More time to let the characters just talk and get things out. Like, my favorite episode of She-Hulk was the one where she's in the. Have you finished the show or no?
I have finished the show. Yes.
Okay. So I can explain it. My favorite episode was when she gets stuck at Blonsky's like retreat.
Yeah, and she's in the group therapy.
Has to she goes to the group therapy session, and she just has to kind of get all her feelings out.
Yes.
And it was a very cathartic episode, and I think a lot of people were on that feeling of like, this is the best episode because it's just Jen finally getting all of her frustration out with everything she's been throughout this show.
Yes.
And it was just like, yeah. And it's like, we all know that feeling of just like, whether it's in therapy, whether it's with a friend or a family member, we all know that feeling of getting all that out.
Exactly.
We all know that feeling.
Yes.
So it was a very relatable moment for the show, and I was just like, this is what I like about She-Hulk, is that it focuses mostly on Jen. Yeah, it has some cool stuff, like other characters make cameo. Daredevil was one of the highlights of the show.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, his episode is the second best episode, in my opinion. The third best is the finale.
Right.
But I just really liked seeing Jen just be Jen. I like the show focusing on her, and I hope that season 2, whenever that happens, I hope we get a season 2. I know that a lot of people kind of shit on the show, but I also feel like a lot of the people who really, really didn't like it or shit on the show just didn't actually watch it.
Right,
but,
exactly.
Or they watched highlights on Twitter or Instagram or wherever, or fucking TikTok. TikTok was not. Oh man, you've seen my videos on She-Hulk. You know
I have. Yeah,
how rough talking about that show can be. But I was still very much just like, this is what the show is trying to do. You're trying to make it into this. This is why you're not enjoying it.
Right.
Like, if you watch it for what it is and still don't enjoy it, that's one thing. That's fine. If you're watching it because you're wanting it to be this big climactic event for Marvel, then you're watching the wrong show, dude.
Exactly.
Like, or if you're watching it for Daredevil, you know his whole show is on Disney Plus now, right?
Yeah, like, there you go.
The whole show's right there. You can go watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I like that one episode of She-Hulk is like, I want more of that. I want more personal stories with these characters. And we got that with Black Panther. We got that with Shang-Chi. Yeah. We got that with Spider-Man. We did get that with Doctor Strange. It wasn't the main focus of the movie, unfortunately, but we did get a personal journey with him.
Yes.
I just wish we got more of that. The movie really needed to be a little bit longer, in my opinion. And we definitely got that with Thor, but it was definitely hidden throughout the jokes throughout the film.
Yes.
But I mentioned before, I meant not on here, but I mentioned on TikTok. Go follow my TikTok, everybody. I talk about Marvel sometimes and make nerds cry. Yeah. I talked about like how at the end of Love and Thunder, like the ending of him holding on, like choosing to be with Jane rather than finishing off the bad guy. He's like, no, this is where I'm needed.
Yes.
Like he finally, and again, it's a case of like he finally gets her back, only to lose her again.
Yes.
And this time permanently. It's perfect. It's a great story. Again, I can totally understand. I've mentioned I think Ragnarok is the overall better movie,
right.
but I think Love and Thunder was more emotional and it let the emotional beats breathe more. And again, like when Marvel wants to hit you where it hurts, they will absolutely nail it.
Yes.
Just more personal stories. The moral of the story is more personal stuff with the characters. Try to do more like what you did with Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, and Black Panther, and to an extent that one really good episode of She-Hulk.
Yes.
More stuff like that.
Yes,
that's what I want to see.
Yes, thank you. And I completely agree with you on that on all fronts, Brett. Thank you so much for joining me because we are just about to hit the 3-hour mark. So,
holy crap.
Yeah, but thank you so much for joining me along with talking about nerd stuff. I hope
always a pleasure to be with y'all.
Right, and I hope we get to do this like another time. And but I want to thank you all for joining us in this stream. It was a first for me, and it was a lot of fun. So, Brett, again, thank you so much for joining me. And you can follow him on his Twitch and TikTok and a lot of other social media stuff. He does some great live streams. It's very fun.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate the shout out there. Possibly not Twitter though. Apparently, Twitter's having a meltdown right now. Thanks, Elon Musk.
We're not going to get into that.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that. Twitter looks like it's not going to be here by tomorrow morning. But Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok are the 3 main places you can find me at. Possibly Tumblr down the line. I'm thinking of opening that blog up again. I haven't used it in like 5 years, but
yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's the main place. And possibly sometime next year, YouTube will be a new place for me to go. I've been meaning to do that since I was in middle school, and I've never committed to. I started it in high school, no joke, but I stopped because I felt like I wasn't good enough because nobody was watching anything.
Bro, we should collab.
Definitely, I would. I would love to.
Right.
Thank you, Garrett, for having me on. I know our boys are gone, but I'm pretty sure I loved being with. I love talking with y'all. It's always great.
Yes, definitely.
That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, thank you all again. And this is Penn and Brett